With this time, I go for mine. I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. Go for mine. I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis. This is another This Week in Startups. My God, it's episode 27. 27 episodes. How many of you guys tuned in on Wednesday when we had Matt Mullenweg on from WordPress? That was a great show. Today, an equally good show, maybe even better. With us today, Matt Coffin, one of my oldest friends from the internet industry, founded Lower My Bills, sold it to Experian for hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't even remember, was it $500 million or something crazy?
Not quite 500.
400?
Almost 400.
When it gets over a certain amount, entrepreneurs they stop remembering the number.
I remember.
You remember? I have a feeling you do. Anyway, I met Matt back in the day when he was just starting this little concern called Lower My Bills. And he's got an incredible story, which we're going to get into later. But now he's an angel investor, so I thought it'd be great to have him on the program since we've been talking about angel investing, Keiretsu Forum, all that kind of nonsense. And today is actually the 30th day since I put the countdown clock on for Keiretsu Forum to drop their fees, and they've sort of half dropped their fees. But we've been having a spectacular run with guests. I'm very happy about that. We're booked up all the way through January with guests. And the reason we're doing so well is the sponsors. Everybody loves the sponsors on the show. Everybody knows WebSpy provides a really good view of what your organization is doing in terms of internet, email, and network usage. Here you can see it on my screen. Go check out WebSpy. Great guys. And they've got great software for you to check out what's going on in your network. And you need this stuff. Talk to your IT guys about it as well. Very important. DNA Mail. Everybody loves DNA Mail. DNA Mail does hosting of Exchange servers, a couple of bucks a month per user. If you're doing a company and you need an Exchange server, you don't really want to be screwing around, do you, with like an IT department? That's not what startups should be doing. A bunch of people actually signed up for DNA Mail, and they thanked DNA Mail, and they put @Jason on it, and they put #TWiST or hashtag on Twitter, so the DNA Mails guys know when somebody who watches the show signs up, and that's why they've been sponsored since the beginning. They've sponsored 30 shows. I think they're committed for 40. I mean, great sponsor, DNA Mail, and they're @DNA Mail. Of course, Ustream. We stream off Ustream. They do a great job. Quality there has been getting better and better. I don't know if you noticed that, but they seem to be using more bandwidth. It just gets tighter and tighter. And of course, Audible, which we all love and we'll talk about later in the show. So welcome to the program, Matt. I've been trying to get you on since the beginning.
Great
Only
to be
took
here.
27 episodes. And so you're an angel investor.
Uh-huh.
You've invested now in how many companies? Because you sold your company and then you became an angel investor.
Right. I sold Lower My Bills in 2005.
Yeah.
And then since then I've probably made, just over a dozen companies that I've invested in. Half of them, or roughly half, are here in Los Angeles. And then the other half are, spread out over the country. I made one investment in South America.
So 12 investments in about 3 years. 3 years.
About 2 years.
Yeah. And so why be an angel investor? You could be retired right now. You could be on a beach. You just spent a couple months on the beach, I think, if I remember correctly. But why even bother doing this? I mean, you've got to, you've done well enough that you don't need to work. Why are you drawn to being an angel investor?
Right. I think at the very end of the day, it's the love of the game, so to speak. And the game, sort of has two elements to it. One, the creative fun aspect and the challenge of actually doing what most people tell you that you actually can't get done.
Right.
I love that aspect of it, and I love that there are home run, game-changing opportunities as it relates to whether it's impacting people's everyday lives or making a significant amount of money as it relates to your time. And so I love sort of the combination of all of those things. And I think anybody that's done a successful startup or any startup is that it's very addictive. It's draining, incredibly draining.
Sure.
I still have pains, sometimes related to just the stress that you went through, but it's incredibly satisfying to build a business of any size. Is really terrific.
And the criteria for these companies, you're basing it on markets, ideas, individuals. What do you look for when you're getting pitched? And you must get pitched, I don't know how many times a week now. People know, the word is out that you're an angel investor.
Yeah. So I get pitched a fair amount. And so sometimes I get pitched through people I know. Sometimes due to just the ubiquity of social networks and different places. Guys will email me or walk up to me at a conference and different things. I think that the things that I'm really looking for is the entrepreneur or that team, are they really clear about what it is that they're trying to do? Are they clear about the market that they're going into? And I'm, like any investor should be, looking for big markets that are already not dominated by a bunch of other well-funded companies or very experienced other entrepreneurs in that market. So I'm sort of looking for big markets, an entrepreneur that's really clear about the market and the competition. And then additionally, I think naturally you're looking for things that have elements of network effects where they use that to create a barrier to other companies. Because one of the things that I love and hate about the internet is the barriers to entry are just so low.
Right. Changing search engines as easy as typing in 4 letters.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. And so that both makes it easy to get started, but I think it makes it really hard to create a sustainable business and really maintain margins over time. So I want to know their understanding about that. And then I think that the last one, which is ultimately the biggest challenge, I think, besides creating a legitimate, good, working, functioning, intelligent product, is distribution. How are you going to get distribution? Because it's a very crowded space out there.
Yeah.
And the real thoughtfulness around that, I think, is pretty critical.
As opposed to maybe a young entrepreneur is like, I have a great idea for a product, and here are all the features.
Right.
But they're not really thinking about the entire market, competitive landscape, and how do I fit into that? How do I get myself out there?
Right. And I find a lot of, especially people that haven't been worked inside of another company before or been a part of another startup, they're not as thoughtful about that. And so that's fine if it's really early and at an incredibly low valuation. I'm sort of blown away, by the entrepreneurs.
Right.
That's fine, and then that's really part of the process of, all right, even before I invest or right after I invest, either situation, let's think through these issues.
Right.
Because generally the money I'm investing, although I'd like it to be the only money that would get them to profitability, that's often not. It's getting them to the next milestone or to the next goal, whatever they're trying to get done. The one thing that just one thing that I look for even more now, because I've made a couple of mistakes with this, is if the entrepreneur is not either themselves highly proficient as a programmer or a product developer, is that or doesn't have their partner as that part, it's really a no-go. I've made a couple of mistakes where I met a business guy that I thought has a really good idea and even had a lot of experience, but then just getting started and going, it just took way too long to figure some things out, and it's just a lot of friction ends up happening. They
can't actually build it themselves, or they can't find somebody to build it and tell them, build this.
Right.
So if you just have the idea, what does that actually mean? I mean, there's other guys out there who have the idea and the ability to actually build it.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. Last night, I met with some guys, and literally they're doing something that I know there are at least 5 other guys on the West Coast doing this. There's already a few that have launched. And one of the reasons that I'm interested is that I've seen what they've gotten done in a very rapid period of time.
Rapid iteration.
And I think they're going to get out and get traction before a bunch of these other guys go. But what you see there is it's the age-old adage of ideas are a dime a dozen, execution is everything. And one of the main reasons is because all of us as entrepreneurs are watching all the data points. We're watching the news, reading blogs, watching what's going on in the world, and we all tend to have ideas in a very similar time frame. Most people do not have the idea 5 years in it or even 2 years in advance before the rest of us get there. So you end up having a lot of people thinking about the same thing right around the same time, and then you find 1 or 2 guys that get out there very quickly and they're out executing. So somebody that's still sitting in figuring out, oh, how do I even find a guy to do this or do that and think about this, it's just they get left in the dust generally.
So people who can execute, you were saying, can go faster. Iteration, very important.
Right.
How important is that in a business to just get the next version out there, and try the next thing? I mean, there's big arguments about having something really of very high quality. Twitter seems to launch a feature a year.
Right.
It feels like their iteration schedules every 6 months.
Right.
Still tremendously successful. Facebook, I mean, it seems like Zuckerberg changes the homepage and your news feed every couple of months, and
Right.
they're adding features nonstop. Where's the balance between that? I mean, is Twitter just successful despite the fact that they don't iterate quick? Is Facebook really the model to just iterate like crazy?
Right.
MySpace did no iteration for 3 years, maybe, right? 2 or 3 years.
Right. Absolutely. And so I don't think there's any right rule. It can be a little situational. I do think, though, and because all of those examples are companies that are fairly well established or significantly established. I think at the very early stage, if you would consider yourself, I wouldn't consider any of those guys startups. Right.
Not
Is
anymore,
that
sure.
when they were startups, I think they need to be, even the concept of iterating is that, to me, you're trying to fail fast and learn fast. Right? You want to, as quickly as you can, be getting learnings to get to something that actually resonates with your customers, that they will either respond to or pay you money for, depending on your model. So getting there as quickly as possible, and then, in my opinion, settling into figuring out a replicatable model.
The flywheel, the machine.
You got to find that. That is the key, to find what is our replicatable model that we pour X, Y, and Z into it, and really move the operating levers of that business. That, to me, is that's the pursuit of what you're trying to do, to then take your company and really put it on steroids in terms of spectacular growth.
Right, and MySpace did that. They figured out how invitations work, and the social graph works.
Yeah.
And Twitter did that as well, and
Right.
Other sites, and one of them, Demand Media, is one of your investments. They raised a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. When did you invest in that? Were you an angel investor? Or are you later rounds?
Yeah, I was in the initial investment.
Right.
And that was a little different, where that was an idea to buy some companies around a thesis and put them together to get leverage, and then go out and both innovate on those businesses and buy additional businesses.
But not exactly your traditional angel investment, right?
Yeah,
that was more, and you just know the guys there. And DocStock, they were a TechCrunch 40 company. I think maybe you met them there. Or did you meet them before that?
I had heard of them before that, and then I saw them at TechCrunch, and that's sort of an example of, I love the entrepreneur. I think Jason Nazar is a very scrappy entrepreneur that will, I feel like, money good with him. That's a kid that's going to figure out how to make money. And one of the things that I like about him, he's a good listener. Yeah. I think that's one of the elements that you need as a good entrepreneur, is to be a listener. Not, hey, I take orders and great, you gave me an idea, I go do it. But really, hey, I'm thoughtful about that, and I'm taking in information and I'm adding that to my own opinion or the 3 other things I was thinking about. And I think he does a good job of that.
And that's, I think, maybe where some young entrepreneurs who maybe defer to their investors too much. I mean, do you get that a little bit, where they're basically managing you as opposed to the business?
Yeah, I'm like super clear with people about, hey, it's your business.
Right.
These are my opinions. These are, and I can pound the table sometimes about, hey, I really think we need to be doing this, and it's certainly frustrating if 12 months later they didn't do that, and then they finally go, oh, we should have done that.
Right.
But all that being said, is that that ultimately it's your business, and so you need to make the decisions. You know the business better than I do. Right. In terms of what's going on, and you're obsessed about it. When I go home at night, I'm not thinking about your business. Right. You're thinking about your business 24/7, just like I was at Lower My Bills. I really felt that, Lower My Bills was my life. I worked 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. I worked on that business.
For how many years was it? From start to finish?
From 1999 to we sold in 2005, so that was 6 years. And then I stayed on another 2 years, and because we had an earnout, and I was adamant, I'm getting everything we're owed. I wanted, most people don't actually achieve their earnouts in a lot of these deals, and I felt really proud of hitting the numbers that we promised Experian that we would hit, and us getting all of the money that we were due. Right.
And so the original idea, though, when I met you in the early sort of Web 1.0 days, lower my bills, the idea as you pitched it to me was send in all your bills and we will work to lower them.
Right.
And you can have your bills sent to this P.O. box, if I remember correctly. We will scan them in, send you the PDFs of your bill. This is before electronic billing.
Right.
And your phone bill and this bill and that bill will come into one place, and we'll call all those providers and get you a lower rate on whatever you're doing because we know how to negotiate.
Right.
This was the original idea.
Not exactly what you just said.
Okay.
So the original idea is that back in 1999, I had just gotten married, and I had bought my first house. And literally in the same month that I received the first mortgage bill, I had received a really crazy cell phone bill, because remember back in 1999, if you were roaming, they could be hitting you $1, $2 a minute, and I had been in New York from Los Angeles, and I had these two bills, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, you know, how much these are. I've got to do something about this. So after sitting on hold, I started calling up the different cell companies and the different mortgage companies and banks, and creating a little spreadsheet about this whole issue. I literally was on hold, and I thought, you know, I've got it sort of crunched to my ear, and I thought, wow, this is so painful. There's just got to be a better way. What am I trying to do here? And I'm trying to lower my bills. I typed that into the browser, and it was available.
Wow.
And so, it was crazy. And
$9.99, GoDaddy.
Right.
Maybe $14.95 at that point.
Right. So boom, I bought it. And started really thinking about it, and the conclusion I came to was what I thought would be a great service is something that would allow you to comparison shop your monthly bills, and this would be the real sort of game changer, is that we would provide a service that would watch your back on an ongoing basis, and we would monitor
make sure that
what you were paying. That's right, and then tell you the next time that you should switch to somebody else, or that you should be on a different plan, whatever it might be. And what ended up happening is,
because this is a great idea, based out of pain.
Right. Absolutely.
And
I think
a lot of the good ideas
day,
come out of that, right? Some entrepreneur
right.
is just so frustrated
right.
that they say, I'm going to fix this.
Right.
I mean, it was your neck pain and the hours wasted on the phone that led you to that business.
Right.
This is an important lesson for entrepreneurs.
Right.
Whenever you're very frustrated with some product or service, that means opportunity in some ways.
Right. I think the biggest opportunities are generally related to that, or you have a more likely success rate, because often you're going to then have built-in customers.
Right.
Because one of the biggest problems that as entrepreneurs we all face is building something that no one cares about. Right. You often can, hey, I have this really great idea for a new glass. Right. And what you find is, well, there's not really much demand. There's already this or that,
people got
or you're not cheaper, or you're not it's not a better glass, or whatever it is, and more importantly, they already got glasses.
Yeah.
Right. And so
why should
they
care?
I think if you find that pain point,
they care,
and they really care. I'll tell you in a few minutes about I think a story here in LA of a company I invested in that's addressing that. But so in 1999, that was my vision, was really this service that would allow you to get good deals now on your recurring monthly bills, and then we would monitor it ongoing. Off we went to do that, and this was again 1999. So on my 10-page PowerPoint, we were able to raise some money, and that was interesting. Another sort of startup lesson was that within probably about a month after I had the original idea, and I'd kind of done a little bit of a prototype, is that another company got funded called Pay My Bills. And so they were originally backed by Idea Lab, which was sort of the
Bill Gross, Scary, Overture, Go To, all kinds of stuff.
And so Bill Gross and I had been emailing, and he said, well, meet with those guys. We already did a deal. Maybe you guys should get together. And so I went and met with those guys, and one of my big takeaways, and I then saw this time and time again when we were really early in the evolution of Lower My Bills, was that two young companies getting together, very painful.
Yeah.
Very painful.
Not going to work.
Who's in charge? My idea, your idea, how's that all work together? And so thank God we decided not to do that.
Sure.
Fast forward a few years, unfortunately they didn't make it. Right. In terms of getting through that, and just related to that, that was really one of the things that I learned through some other mistakes was two small companies should not be working together, regardless of merging, but really working
Business
together.
development, building something.
It's so painful because you
Partnerships in general, I mean,
tough.
it seemed like a waste of time for startups to me, unless you're some great deal maker like, you know, our
Peter
guy,
Pham.
Peter Pham from Bill Shrink, who's been on
Right.
the program. Is it Bill Shrink?
Bill Shrink.
Bill Shrink, which is basically the business you just described is Bill Shrink.
To some extent.
Yeah, it's a lot of overlap there.
Right.
And are you an investor in that?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm
you're
on
an
the board there,
investor in a business, which is the same business in 1999 that you were speculating would be a great business.
Somewhat. It's a little bit, it's not exactly what I envisioned.
His was like you come to a website and you get the lowest price.
Right.
Like a bank rate of,
yes.
you know, all different services.
Right, right. And they're more automated than we were, and they're doing some different things, and so anyway, so got through our funding, off we went, and we were, and this goes to this iteration part that we were talking about earlier, is that we were testing different things. So we put up all these categories that were your monthly bills, so long distance, cell phones, mortgages, credit cards, everything. And we put that up on the homepage, and we were partnered with some companies initially who had started these verticals.
Yeah.
And I really thought that was the biggest mistake. At that time, 1999, Yahoo had shown in 1999 the best business model was aggregation.
Right.
Pull it all into one place, and that's a viable concept because you then have more touch points with the consumer. So we partnered with people, watched where people were clicking and where transactions were happening, and then where we saw that, we then built those out quickly, and that sort of drove our product development cycle of where we were doing that.
So the partnerships then resulted in you actually building your own.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So you were like you use the other people's metrics in a way to figure out where your business should go. It's sort of co-opetition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the danger. And the danger that goes on to it, and
when people partner, you're educating that partner as to what you're doing. I mean, this happened with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. I mean, Steve gave Bill the operating system to build software for, and then Bill made Windows. Right. And then obviously Apple sued Windows and didn't win because it wasn't unique enough. But this can happen. Opportunities can emerge.
Absolutely. So that's what we did, and off we went. And one of the things that we did was that Lower My Bills just became really terrific at online marketing. We built an incredible amount of tracking, and we were probably one of the earliest companies that really understood the ROI of buying any impression, click on the internet. Wherever it was. And we became very, very good at that. So we were able to pump literally, tens, and my last year I was there over $100 million in online marketing into advertising on the internet because we understood the value of that.
So like these, and you bought a lot of cheap advertising. We'd see the Lower My Bills ads that were all kind of funny, and you click on them and get your mortgage lowered. And you built this hit right at the same time that the real estate boom hit.
Right. Well, two things happened. But in about 2001, we sort of got through the dot-bomb, which was the most difficult. Just horrible. We were, one of those companies that was like right to the edge. Of
looking over the precipice.
Right. That was horrible. When I remember getting in front of the company, we had probably 25 folks at the company then, and we were in like we were doing everything that a lot of funded companies were not doing. We had the most horrible, grossest office that was so cheap over in North Hollywood. It was awful.
Dirty.
It was dirty. Heat worked on one side, air conditioning worked on the other, but not vice versa. So we'd have rotations.
Oh, brutal. Bring your sweater or wear a t-shirt.
Yeah, it was awful, but it was also fun. It really got a culture of
scrappiness.
Of scrappiness. So anyway, so we sort of survived that, and one of the things that happened after the internet crashed is that there was so much inventory. Now that same thing exists today, although there's more companies to monetize it, but the same issue was happening then, which is there's just this huge proliferation of impressions and folks on the internet that were not being bought by advertisers. So there was all this remnant inventory or inventory that was not quite remnant, but we could figure it out and it was still being sold cheaply. And we really stepped up and said, hey, we'll take it all, right? We'll take a lot of that. And one of the things that we did then is we really understood the pop under and the pop up.
Right.
And off we went, and we were testing that, and that was really terrific. And so we exploded as it related to the volume that we were buying in there, and it was great for the business, and off we went. And suddenly, Bill Gates says, we're building into the browser
no
pop-up blockers, right?
Game over.
And we thought, whoa, that is scary.
Yeah, that's the end of that.
Right, that's the end of that. So I'll never forget when that happened. I walked into the company, and the marketing team was just depressed, right? The day that we saw this, And I then turned to our finance guy, and I said, and this was like a metric. Lower Bills was so good at metrics, but this was the one metric I just was not tracking, at least that week. What percentage of our revenue is coming from this ad unit?
Yeah.
And it was 80%.
Hello.
And we thought, oh my God.
4 out of 5 people are not going to be working here in a month.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I went home that night, had a massive stomach ache and pains, and you're just you think, whoa,
cold sweats.
Wow, this is a problem. So I came in, and I remember meeting with the marketing team, and I said, hey, you guys are the marketing team. You're not the pop-up team. Right. So with the head of marketing, the two of us created some metrics about, all right, let's get from 80 to 60 and 40 and so on in terms of our percentage over a period of time, because it wasn't happening instantly.
Right.
So we aggressively did that, and off we went. And then that led us down all sorts of other channels where we became very good at basically every single marketing channel on the web, and kept going. And then we hit this other wave. And I think these waves are also a real core to a lot of successes that you see in any business, let alone on the internet that we're seeing today, are you want to be a part of a rising tide wave that's going on. It is very difficult to swim upstream.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not good enough.
Or to surf it when it's low tide.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no wave to surf.
Right.
I mean, if there's big waves coming, they may be different. They may crash, but at least you've got a wave. I mean, you can work with it.
Right. You have your opportunity.
Low tide, no fun.
Right. Absolutely. And rising tides lift all boats.
Yeah.
They make up for the mistakes that we all make. Maybe, Steve Jobs might be, he probably is perfect, right?
As
an entrepreneur.
He's
just
unbelievable. Yeah. $35 billion in cash, about to catch up to Microsoft's valuation.
Right, it's amazing. I think that he is the only, he's the only guy that has ever had, there's never been any movie production company in the world that has had, I think they've now had $6+ billion movies, and that every one of the movies coming out of Pixar has been $1 billion plus.
Right. So he's batting 1,000.
That's the side business.
That's his side job. Right. That's his This Week in Startups.
Right.
Yeah. I'm screwing around on the side.
Right. It's amazing.
He's of all the entrepreneurs out there, is he the one you respect most, look up to?
He's just that's just unbelievable when you see that that happen, because we all know it's just so hard. One success is unlikely, let alone multiple. It's just, it's incredible, and at a first class, best in class level, it's really incredible.
Cool. Now, we skipped the callers, but we're going to get them right now. I just had to get a little bit of a story out there. We're going to pick up where we left off on that, but we'd like to take calls, because the people in the chat room now, there's literally 300 people watching the show live. People are going crazy to ask a question. So if you'd like to ask a question, whoop, here we go. Phone is ringing. Very good.
Is that me?
Yeah. So here we go. Phone's ringing, and our first caller is Ernie. Ernie, you're on This Week in Startups.
Jason, thank you for taking my call.
Okay, and so how long have you been listening to the program?
I want to say it's probably been a couple months now.
Really? Favorite show, favorite guest? Got a favorite guest so far?
Yeah, I think I do. I think it would be Show 15, Roll-Off Bolta.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's a vintage. Show 15's a vintage. Roll-Off Bolta was awesome. So, and favorite segment of the show?
Well, I enjoy the Shark Tank. I enjoy Ask Jason, but I think my favorite part is when you get into conversations with guests and exchange ideas. Okay, good. So you like the interview best. I always ask, I like to know how long you've been listening to the program, and I like to know what your favorite part of the show is. It's good feedback from me. So you're calling from the 912. I have no idea where that is. Where are you calling from? So Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia. Ooh. Okay, so you have a question for Ask Jason and Matt. Let's hear your question.
My question is, if you have an idea, okay, it's your big idea, and you need technical help and you need financial help, how do you protect your idea?
We get this question a lot. I'm going to let Matt take it.
I think that the fact is there's a lot of ideas most people don't execute. I don't ask people to sign NDAs. When people ask me to sign NDAs, to me it tells me they're not real. And I don't think that you should be as protective as you may think, because you want to get feedback from people. If you go talk to 5 people and they all throw up on the idea and you just can't, no one's really getting it, they don't understand what you're even talking about, that to me is a good lesson before you spend a lot of time or money on it. So to me, I wouldn't worry about that.
I think that's something a lot of young entrepreneurs,
Right.
this is Jason, get overly concerned with. Oh my God, somebody's going to steal my idea. If you look at somebody like Matt, who's an angel investor, I do 1 or 2 angel investments a year. Roloff Botha does it as a professional, like day job at the #1 venture capital firm in the world. They don't have time to steal ideas. They've got companies to run, and they have plenty of options. And you can be sure that whoever has the idea for human-powered search, or this sort of knowledge exchange, he saw every company. He didn't tell me about it. I don't know what he saw. He would never do that. Ethically, I can tell you, Roloff would never tell me about other companies that he saw in confidence to pitch him, because he doesn't want me going to somebody else and saying, yeah, Roloff told me what Jimmy Wales' plans were. And if I found out that, I pitched Redpoint or one of my friends over there, and then they started taking what I sent them and gave it to somebody else, they lose credibility. So they're not really interested in doing that. And technical guys, they need a business guy to work with them. So I wouldn't worry about that so much. Additionally, you just heard Matt say that his first idea wasn't his last. The first couple ideas I had for Mahalo, which I actually socialized, this is the term for it, with Matt, are not what's causing the growth right now. Unless you think that your first idea is your best idea you're ever going to have, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Right. And I can tell you for certain, your first idea is where you start is not where you're going to wind up. Right. In fact, if you look at Bill Gates' business, the Microsoft started as building software for programming languages. That's not what they're doing now. And all the profitability from Macs right now is coming from phones and MP3 players, which is not where they started. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Okay.
That being said, I wouldn't necessarily put your whole business plan and your roadmap on a blog. And some people are doing this. I don't know if you've seen there's a site. What is the site? Feature Voice or User Voice, I think is the site. And I was thinking about using this. So you give your users a voice on your site where they can say what features they want and then vote them up and down. And I just thought, this is brilliant. I hope competitors do this and put their entire roadmap on the site. I mean, it's so stupid. It's unbelievable. And so we were thinking about doing it, and I was just like, I stopped myself like 10 times from doing it. But I saw Seismic, and Seismic is a desktop client, it's like TweetDeck, and they put it up, and I'm like, TweetDeck is just sitting there hitting the refresh key, building the features before you do. I want to take that user voice, build it, create like 20 fake accounts, and put up the bad things that we know are mistakes, and vote those up with 20 shadow accounts so that my competitors, do them. But I wouldn't worry about it, Ernie. The idea is not what's going to be important. It's going to be your execution. Yeah.
Put it out there.
It's execution, and you're going to do many companies, and the ideas are already out there. I mean, it really is not what matters in business. Execution is everything.
So good luck with it.
Good luck with it, Ernie.
Jason, Matt, thank you very much.
Take care. That's a good question. We get that a lot. That's when we can cut out of the show and then people can send it to their friends when they ask that same question. I get asked to do NDAs. I've never signed NDAs. I go to a lot of big companies. They want to talk about Mahalo, and I say, okay. When I go in, I say, okay, I can show you a couple of things under FriendDA, right? And they say, sure, okay. It's not going to wind up on the blogs. Right. I mean, they're scared of me. I go into meetings now. They're like, oh my God, are you going to tweet this to 80,000 people? People are nervous when I come into a meeting. All right, so we have another caller. We got Bobby. Here he is. Hey, Bobby, you're on This Week in Startups. How you doing?
Hi, Jason and Matt. How are you? I'm doing very well.
Good. So turn down the speaker on your computer because there's reverb in back. If you have a second there.
Okay, I just did.
Great. Okay, so you have a question for us. Go.
Yes, I do. I just started a business, actually, where we are importing sustainably African hardwoods to the United States, and we leave part of the proceeds back in Africa to fund schools and drinking water wells, etc. And I'm interested in getting the word out about our company, and I'm trying to figure out how to use the internet and social networking, social media, to build some buzz about our company, especially in an industry like lumber and hardwoods, where nobody thinks about media and the internet. So
that's a good opportunity. Does the company have a name yet?
How can I do that in our industry?
Does the company have a name yet? Have you named it?
Yeah. The name is Ngambe. It's NGAMBE.com.
Oh, okay.
It's the name of my dad's village.
Got it. Okay, so it's going to be a little tough with the name because the name is a little bit hard to spell. Usually when you pick a domain name, you try to make it so it's easier to spell, but it's not so difficult to spell that it's impossible.
Okay.
What you're going to want to do, what's good about having this name is that nobody's going to have taken this name probably on the social network. So what you're going to want to do is go get this name on Twitter, obviously, Facebook, get a group, and all the different social sites out there. And you're going to want to have a blog as well.
Okay.
And you're going to want to write about not just what you're doing, but the sort of space you're in. You could write about sustainability. You could write about Africa. You could write about furniture and what people do with this wood. And then write about what other bloggers are doing. So if somebody's writing about sustainable bricks, or sustainable wood from another area, you could write a blog post about their blog post or tweet their thing. Then they see you doing that. Now you're part of this sort of community that's growing. And you can search for sustainability, et cetera. So if you look at Twitter and Facebook and your blog all as networking at a conference, and all of these other sites that are out there and other blogs as other conferences, you can go in there and just gracefully interact about the topics. And of course, this will link to your site, and then you have to have an SEO strategy, which is figuring out what keywords people are searching for. What did you call the wood? Like vestige wood or something?
It's African hardwood. Hardwood.
And is there like a category for that? Like, is it?
Yeah, they have different names that are African names, like Wenge, Bubinga,
right,
Sapeli, Ovenkol.
Right. So if you
they have their own names.
Yeah. So if you come up with a blog that educates people on what these are and what the purpose of these are about this, and you give the history of it, you might be able to find those woods or whatever on Wikipedia, make your site a citation for it, make videos or pictures about it. People like video and pictures. And then interacting with people. You see somebody who's doing, if you think these would be great for making beds and you see people on Etsy making beds, you could maybe partner with some of those great builders on Etsy and get them the wood. Etsy's a whole marketplace of people who are craftsmen. They're looking for wood to craft stuff out of. So you might find somebody in Brooklyn who's making stuff from wood from Japan and say, hey, you should make the same things with African wood. It would be an incredible look. So anyway, Matt, what are your thoughts?
I think that the one particular comment about a blog is for anybody that's doing something that's especially, hard to understand, or you really want to sort of get the point of view of the people behind it. I think a blog is a really terrific opportunity for you to get out there and communicate about the product and about the, as Jason said, about the space. And I'll bet, I don't know, in that market, are there already some well-known blogs or people in the industry about that?
I haven't found any. I have found some designers that will use some wood, but no clear focus on African wood.
Right. See, so that's what I would do. A great example of this. 2 weeks ago, I was in Belgium, and my wife, who is a designer and so really into furniture, is that there was a blogger that is in Belgium, and I cannot remember the name of the URL right now, or the business, is that, but this woman has really gotten out there and kind of owns the market to some extent,
right?
On Google and et cetera, when you search like Belgium design and different things. And it's amazing, and that how powerful it can become. And this is somebody who literally, it turned out, just started blogging like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And suddenly she has, incredible distribution on Google.
Yeah, and when you have multiple things like a Google group, a Twitter group,
Right.
Facebook, stumble upon, and you use links to your blog, it will create the SEO juice. You don't have to even wait for people to link to you. You can do it yourself by linking from the Twitter account to the blog. It just sends the search engines there, and if there's not competition for these words, you should rise over a period of weeks to months. Let's say 3 months would be a pretty good number. But you have to do this every day. People expect like you do it once and then it happens. It's not like that. This is carrying on this dialogue for an hour a day, 2 hours a day for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days before you start seeing results.
Okay.
But you'll get there, especially because you have something very niche that doesn't have a lot of competition for the keywords.
Yeah, and I also want to, one thing I also want to push too is what we're doing. And for me, it's a business, yes, but what we're doing on the African side. I mean, and how it all evolved. I mean, there was a woman who didn't have money to go to a doctor, to give birth to a kid, and she wanted to borrow $25 from me and pay me back over 5 years, and I took care of the kid's pregnancy, and next thing I know, well, there's no school for the kid.
Yeah.
So we built our first school that way, and I want to spread the story because I think it's a great story that we have.
It's looking. I'm looking at your site, incredibly well produced. It looks like you're on your way. We'll put it up on the screen here so everybody can see. Ngambe, Ngambe. And the furniture looks beautiful. I am afraid to show this to my wife because I think we're going to get a new deck. So if my wife is watching, please go get a cup of tea.
Turn it off.
Please. We just put floors in. I think I'm going to be ripping out floors soon. But you have a very professional-looking site and a great noble mission. There are people like Coscast, which is running Huffington Post's giving site. There's Kiva. And you might be able to go to some of those communities where people are already charged up about these things, and sort of as Matt was saying before, rising tide lifts all boats. There is a movement right now for sustainability and for giving and fair trade. So you're right in the heart. I mean, and also there's the nesting one. I mean, people are nesting and building homes and furniture and design. I mean, you're in the perfect storm. This business should do very well. And I think you're onto something. Just go find those communities. Instead of trying to, people get a little self-centered on the web sometimes. I built my blog, nobody came. It's your job to go out there and go to those communities and socialize and communicate your value proposition, and over time they come to you. But really, really good stuff, and good luck with it, and keep in touch.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, man.
Cheers, bye. Good question. Good site. Okay, now we're going to get pitched.
Okay.
What's the worst pitch you've had? Without saying the guy's name, obviously.
The worst pitch?
You think about it for a second. What was the worst pitch, and the best pitch? I want to hear both, but worst pitch and best pitch. What was the one when somebody pitched and you said, I got to just do that? That makes total sense. No brainer.
Wow.
You can't say mahalo for that one.
Mahalo doesn't count for that.
I forgot. Full disclosure, Matt was the first person, one of the first people I told about the idea for mahalo, and immediately said, I'm in. Was one of the first investors, the first investor actually, I think. And then we have an independent board seat, which I asked you to take, and you've been gracious enough to do and been a great supporter and help on building the business.
Right.
So other than mahalo, which was the worst pitch?
Right. I think the absolute worst pitch, and
or the worst thing to do in a pitch.
Yeah, because I don't really remember bad pitches.
I guess you wouldn't, right? Because they're so forgettable.
And generally, it's just people cannot communicate.
Simply the idea.
Simply, what is it that you're doing, and how are you going to get distribution, or what are the metrics that you've already got about the business, and how are you going to compete? Right? Is that I've found sometimes people are like that. The thing though that's different, that is more annoying than that, because sometimes you can find. I've met people that are not great communicators, and I think if you're going to be the CEO, you need to be a good communicator. But I've met good engineers, or even some great marketing people that I wouldn't call really terrific presenters, but they're very skilled at their role. To me, the worst thing is when people talk about there's no competition, and then in 1 minute, I go on Google or on Mahalo and I find out,
7 people.
There's like 7 people, and this one's doing this and this and that. That's just annoying.
It's like you do
that.
one search and you find all the other people selling African wood,
right?
And this person said there's nobody else doing it,
right? There's no, That just drives me.
Not that that's
that
the case
drives
here,
me,
but
right. That drives me crazy.
Because either they didn't do their homework or they're a BS artist.
Right. And
either way,
it's just
which is more
insane,
insulting.
'cause it's not like, at least either they think I'm an idiot
Right.
or they're full of it, and either way, it's not good.
And what about contacting you? Like you get people contact you out of the blue. You must get, like I do, 8-page emails that just don't make any sense or they're too long for you to read. What's the best way for them to concisely, pitch you by email or through your Facebook account? I'm sure you get them through there as well, or whatever.
So to me, it's just literally a couple of paragraphs that are telling me, here's the idea, here's why it's unique and will make money, and here's who they are.
Right.
And then if they can point me to, here's 2 or 3 other examples of people, to our earlier point, there's already a lot of these things out there, of 2 or 3 other examples of people that are doing something similar, and they're different.
Right.
But it sort of gets the ecosystem, or the market.
So concise, like the pitch in person.
Super duper simple. Because if you can't articulate it simply, your customers are paying attention even less than I am.
1%.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And so you've really got to be able to precisely communicate what it is you're trying to do.
And if you can't, it's either a reflection that your idea is not precise, fully baked, or worth investing in, or you're not a good presenter.
Right.
And I guess you figure that out after you've presented it a couple of times. People will tell you if it's a bad idea or if you're just a bad presenter.
Right.
Okay, so now we'll get pitched. So we have the Shark Tank. The actual intro.
I think that was the Hamptons.
That was the Hamptons, exactly. That's my house in the Hamptons. All right, here we go. Shark Tank coming in. Thank you, Mark Burnett, for producing Jason Shark Tank. Okay, Phil from the 818, which I believe 818s and Heartbreaks. You're here in Los Angeles?
In Burbank.
In Burbank, sunny Burbank. And you're going to pitch us. You know the rules. Keep it under a minute. You just heard Matt say about 18 times, be concise. And you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, you're on.
Okay, so they've got all these e-books readers out there. There's the Kindle, the Sony e-reader, the Nook, and of course all the iPhone applications like Stanza and the Kindle for the iPhone. So this is a little application that's integrated with these e-readers. So you say you're going to read a novel. You put your headphones on, and this little application analyzes the text and searches for keywords that kind of set the mood of the scene. It then, in the background, connects to an online streaming service like Pandora or Rhapsody or Spotify in Europe, and it plays a soundtrack that's basically customized to the story that you're reading, kind of in the same way that a movie score enhances film. And, the user can set preferences. Let's say, lyrics are distracting to you, so you can say, only play orchestral score, or only play music without lyrics. Or say you're reading a book about the 60s, you can say only play 60s music. Or something like author's picks, where you could listen to the music that inspired the authors. They were writing the novel that you're reading. And while you're listening and reading, the software is picking out the next song in the queue. So when you turn the page, it crossfades to the next song in the queue. And if you like the song, you can push a button and download it right to your device. And the software is called Atmosphere.
Atmosphere. Okay. I would say your pitch was clear and concise. So I'm going to give you a very good grade for pitching. You got right to the point. You explained it. Both of us understood it. And we both raised our eyebrows and looked at the ceiling going, and I'm not going to speak for Matt, but I said, you're going to match what I'm reading with music. So if I am reading about, some horrific world event, like a war, I'm reading about the Vietnam War, you're going to play 60s music or something, and I don't like to listen to music when I read because it's distracting, and then you sort of, I guess you knew that objection was coming, so then you can play classical music. And I thought to myself, this has nothing to do with ebooks, but being able to tell my mood or target music to some other variable is interesting. I don't know what that is, how fast your car is driving, what the weather's like outside, my age, my heart rate, I don't know. but I like this core idea of the music changes automatically for me, like Pandora does, based on the previous artist. That's what they key it off of, as opposed to the book you're reading. So I'm not quite sure, although I do like this idea of creating a soundtrack for a book. So you've got me thinking and intrigued. What if the book, The Road, somebody made a playlist for that book? Is it John Cormack or whatever? So there is something interesting there. I don't know, Matt, what did you think about the presentation and also the actual substance of it? How we presented and the idea.
Right. I thought the pitch was concise, simple. We get it in terms of the idea. I'm not clear on how you're going to make money, and I'm not clear on what's your experience as it relates, or passion as it relates to this business.
Right. You want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a guy that works in entertainment, so my background is animation. I have a developer that's working on a proof of concept, so I need help in that department. In terms of how you make money, I think there's three ways. You can license the technology to any e-reader. That's the first way. The second way is you charge a small commission if someone actually purchases a song that they're listening to, and maybe you split the commission between you and the e-reader that's providing, the device. And the third way is to go to a music publisher and use kind of that Google model with AdSense, where they can pay a premium to position their songs in a more more likely selected way, sort of like if they have a category that's kind of dormant and they want to try to stimulate sales, well, they can pay us, and if something like sad or haunting or whatever is tied into one of their songs, it'll be more likely to be selected, more of an opportunity to purchase that song.
Right. Have you? I'm a big Kindle reader, and my wife is a huge Kindle reader. It's amazing. I love it. So, how much testing have you done with folks regarding would they really use something like that while they're in the process of? Because when I use my Kindle, I every time I turn it on, there's on the first page you've got multiple pages of your books that are stored. But I've got different books. And oftentimes I'm midway in between different books, right, reading them at once.
Yeah.
So I want to get down to reading. I'm not sure what the market is. That's why I ask about sort of reaction from people you've talked to or some studies, is whether people want to pause and go, okay, now I'm ready to read, but now let me wait and go scan through a bunch of book or a bunch of music titles and figure that out. It's a lot of friction, but I might be wrong. So have you talked to many people, or what makes you think that people love this?
Yeah, everybody seems to love it, and I've shared it with as many people as I can, including Tim Westergan at Pandora and also the people at Stanza. And, the idea is that it's doing it in the background on the fly, so you're not doing anything but reading your book. And the only thing you do in the beginning may be a set of user preference. Like I said, you don't want to hear lyrics. So you're not doing any programming at all, and it's not a pre-programmed playlist.
Okay, got it.
It's sort of deciding, yeah.
Okay, and then I can just shut it off. To Jason's point, it chose 60s music, and he's like, off.
Yeah.
Right, and back to just reading. Okay.
Yeah,
that's right. That's the user preferences. So if you don't like that sort of thing.
Right. This feels a lot like sort of a feature that you would see built into some of these products, and it would probably be very interesting to the to some of the guys probably outside of Amazon. I'm sure Amazon has their own very distinct music play here that they're trying to get at. But so one way to think about this might be, could you build a working piece of software that does this, and then go and try to sell it to some of these guys? But because I think that's how they would look at it. I think that they'll be very weary of letting you start a business.
Inside of their zone. Yeah,
unfortunately,
I agree with Matt. You've got like a feature that I would describe as like one of the experimental Google Gmail Labs features. Like it's not ready for primetime feature. Maybe you want to try it. It may work. It may not work. You may like it. Most people may not. So that's good. It means you're experimenting. But I think it's a tiny, tiny idea. Ebooks are a big idea possibly. But even this revenue stream you're talking about. people like Pandora having a hard time making a living,
Right.
let alone you making it off affiliate revenue. So it's a very small idea in a tiny market now that could be growing, which might be good, but with very hard revenue potential. So I would encourage you to try to maybe open up and think about what is your core skill here, matching mood to music, or maybe matching text to music, and then maybe you could come up with something where you make a plug-in for any music system, Rhapsody, Pandora, whatever, and I pick mood. And I can look at 10 mood dials, and I can dial, how aggressive I want the music, how affectionate I want the music, how sad I want the music. So I can have like a sad, aggressive song, or I can have a sad, song that is slow, that is this, and Pandora sort of does that to a certain extent, but they match tonal qualities and, beats or whatever. But I commend you for being creative. I don't think you've got the right idea yet.
Right. I would tend to agree with Jason, but the one thing I would also look into is what's the battery drainage that causes? Because the most irritating thing when I'm on my Kindle is the battery issue.
How long does battery last on that? I thought it was supposed to be a long time.
It can be. I mean, I think it's 12 hours or maybe a little less.
So the same as most hardcover books.
Right. But it's just, I'm always running out of batteries, and so something else that's draining it that's not core just feels. But anyways, that's something you could go and talk to. Here's one of the things also I'd recommend: go on LinkedIn and get to some folks that have used to work at Amazon on Kindle, right? And call those guys up and ask them. I'm sure that they've looked at this idea and thought about something in this general vicinity.
Yeah.
And you might be able to get a couple of good nuggets, right? A might say that what Jason and I are saying is nuts. And then on the other side, might give you more, either way, it would give you validation of what the behemoth in this area outside of Apple is really thinking about in this kind of stuff.
Interestingly enough, I asked the chat room to rate the idea, and you're getting a very split vote. 8, and then other people 2, 1.53, 6, 4. I mean, it's all over the map.
It's interesting.
Which is interesting. I kind of like when ideas are like that because it means that some people think it's brilliant and other people hate it, and then some people are confused. So, I mean, I'm seeing 7, 1s, 4s, 3s. I've never seen anybody get a cross vote like this, and we've done 20 of these so far. So that means you might be onto something. I think that's what that means when you get a whole bunch of people telling you like great idea, bad idea. Is that the reaction you're getting to this in the market?
Everybody so far has said great idea.
Really?
They just but my world is people that I do TV shows and stuff, and so we're always matching music to, and so everybody sort of gets it. Gets what it is right away.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Those are my peers.
There you go. Well, good job. And how long you've listened to the program? Is this your first episode, or you've listened to it before?
No, I listened to all of them.
Oh, really? You have a favorite guest so far?
I liked Mark Goulston. I thought that was really cool.
That was an interesting one, huh? Having a PhD, business author, psychologist, or psychiatrist talking about human relations. I thought that was a really good one, too. That's a classic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. Keep tuning in. And who are the sponsors of the program?
Well, you got Ustream, WebSpy, DNA Mail, and I think you're doing something with Audible, too.
There you go. Good. 4 for 4. See, this is what I'm trying to explain to people.
That means Jason will finance this.
You got my money. This is a very important thing. You have to pitch for your advertisers, your sponsors. You have to work for it, and the audience needs to participate. You guys got to meet me halfway here because I'm doing this show for free. This takes like 2 hours out of my week. I prepare for about a solid
10 seconds?
A solid 10 minutes of preparation goes into my performance here. And but there's a lot of other people who work very hard on the show, like Alex and Tyler and Lon, et cetera, and they spend a day, a week, the lights, the cameras, the show business, all this stuff. It costs money, and the sponsors really do a good job.
Absolutely.
And thanking them, especially thanking them on Twitter, means a lot to them. DNA Mail, WebSpy, Ustream, and Audible. Great talking to you, Phil.
Okay, thanks.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I love that part of it. And there's a couple of these companies I'm thinking about as a pitch. I usually give them instructions of what to do next, like we did here. And like you give them a good one, go on LinkedIn, find people who worked at a similar product, get their feedback.
Yeah.
So you can get a little closer to maybe someone who's actually tried, or maybe they pitched it to Bezos and why he said no.
Right.
But then they call back in 2 months later, we see progress. It's actually interesting. So when we left off, you had figured out that...
Oh, so we'd figured out online advertising. We had really
mortgages
figured it out.
were working.
And in probably around 2003, roughly, the interest rates were dropping, mortgages were exploding on the all over the country,
especially in California.
Especially in California,
where we are.
So,
especially in Los Angeles, where we are.
Yes.
Los Angeles would be the capital of mortgages. Yes. Or would that be like Florida or Arizona?
Yeah, Florida. Well, I think Florida, Nevada, and California. Those are the 3 states that have done the most, mortgage damage or have the most, mortgage challenges. Related to different things over the past few years. So, anyways, that was happening, and we were seeing that we were getting more and more interest. That's where consumers, were either emailing us about, or that's where they were clicking on the site and getting response to that. So we made a concerted effort to focus there.
Right.
And even in some cases, and I think that this is one of the biggest challenges that a company will face, is to stop doing things.
Right.
Right.
Drowning in opportunity.
It's the hardest thing is there's no end to the list of ideas.
Right.
So how do you get focused? And then even within the things you're focused on, if you start to see, wow, there's 1 or 2 that are just breakout in terms of what we're
doing.
Double down. How do you push away some of the other things? What I really created was what I call a not now list.
Right.
Which is, it's a good idea, but not now.
Right.
I don't want it. We don't want anybody focused on it. No talking about it. No meeting about it.
Right.
We'll get to that in the future.
Let's get this done.
Let's get this done now. So get everybody rowing.
Whatever the best opportunity is.
Yeah.
So
or what best fits what's going on with the company's skills, or
market.
But generally that comes to the best opportunity
the best fit at that time.
That's right.
The not now list.
That's right.
Which you famously spoke to the Mahalo team years ago and told them this story.
Yeah.
To this day, people say, put it on the not now list.
Right.
This day, it is one of those things I've put into my entrepreneurial handbag that people ask me, hey, we got this idea for this. Not now.
Right.
Let's get Mahalo 3.0 out. Let's get how-to articles going. Let's get to 1,000 how-to articles a week, and then we'll do something else.
Right.
Let's get the thing that's making us the most money, double down, triple down.
Right.
And then you get in a better position because you have more cash, you have more reserves, which is what Steve Jobs has done. They're probably telling him to do the tablet. And he's like, you know what? Look at all this cash we have from the iPhone and the iPod. And before the tablet comes out, he had the iPhone. Before the iPhone, he had the iPod. He probably put the iPhone off a year or 2
while
and
they're doing
said,
this other thing.
Let's maximize profit on the iPod for a little while.
Right.
Then we'll bring that out. Let's build up these cash reserves.
Absolutely.
So then does that mean the work from 99 to 2002, 4 of your 6 years of work, was not what Experian bought? It was those last 2 years of work that
they bought
2003, 2004, 2005 was when you really became what was the great company?
No, well, 2 things. One is we always had revenue and profits in these other verticals.
Yeah.
And Lower My Bills was steadily growing, and in 05, roughly, when we sold the company, we were probably doing roughly $80 to $100 million in revenue, and call it 15 to 20 million in profits. And 2 years later, in 07, we did roughly about 200 plus million, maybe 225 million, I think, roughly around there, in revenue, and over 50 in profits. It was crazy. It was probably one of the most profitable internet companies in Los Angeles, if not maybe the most profitable at the time.
Well, in terms of earnings, certainly, because you have a lot of money-losing ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So what they were really buying, though, was the sort of the team, the people that existed, and the tribal knowledge that existed within Lower My Bills as really the best financial services marketer on the internet.
Right.
Additionally, we were in a number of these different verticals, and so we happened to have a significant amount of business in the mortgage business. But you had this skill that's portable to this day, and they've continued now to do that, where you could add other verticals into the business or into the team that's operating Lower My Bills. And so that's some of what they were buying when they bought it in 05. But before then, what I was going to say is that we sort of exploded we were growing, and then we got the formula down in the mortgage or financial services market, and just kept on growing, and I kept on doubling down. I'm a big believer in doubling down on people.
Right.
So in sales, if 4 people are good, let's go to 8. If 8 people are good, 16.
Right.
If 16 are good, go to 32.
Until you stop
until
getting
you're right
the
up
result.
against it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And
If you go from 32 to 64 and it doesn't change the needle, you should have stayed at 32.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Right. Or
the last
kind of
32
back down and figure out what's the right what's the right number to be. Yeah, absolutely.
But most people don't bet enough.
Right.
They don't get their money in with the right cards. Poker analogy.
Right.
So they got aces and they hit their set and they don't bet enough.
Right. Right. Yeah. There is this tendency, I think, that to not go aggressive enough, and I'm challenging often. Some of the companies that I've invested in about, hey, you go harder.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about that.
Yeah, all the
sometimes,
time.
right? About,
all the time.
Hey, if we think we have our formula down, go.
Yeah.
Right. The moment you get your formula down,
right.
To me, you push it.
Right.
To
push
right
the
up
chips
until
in.
it breaks. Right.
Yeah.
Right up until it breaks.
So you have to monitor it. You don't do it stupid. You don't go buy 3 Super Bowl commercials and blow all your money.
Right.
But you may buy some commercials on TV.
Right. And I think you go right up until it breaks. The thing that I used to talk about at Lower My Bills and even with other companies is early stage companies are like a NASCAR race car.
Right.
What do NASCAR race cars look like at the end of the day?
They're busted and beat up.
That's right.
Junky.
But
it's
about winning.
Yes.
It is not about having the most beautiful race car at the end. What's the guy that's the #1 racer today? What's that guy?
Stewart? No. Somebody in the chat room, tell us.
Who's the #1 NASCAR race car?
I don't know. Somebody got to put that on Mahalo Answers. Who's the #1? Jimmy Johnson?
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
So Jimmy Johnson, at the end of the day, he does not care about how his car looks.
Right.
Right. The sponsors care at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's about winning, and when you race around a racetrack, there's oil leaking out.
Yeah.
Tires go flat, and you got to bring it in periodically. Just like a company, sometimes you need to stop and go, all right, we need to rewrite the code, right? Or we need to do this or do that. But you've got to win the race. It is about winning the race.
You can't stay in the pit all the time.
Absolutely.
If you stay in the pit and you're trying to polish this thing off and make it look like a Ferrari, you're going to lose.
Right. And you may push it sometimes and blow the engine.
Yes.
That's possible. But
and then you got to push it into the pit.
Week.
Yeah.
There's a race next week that you can go do it.
You got to push it into the pit anyway, and then
I think that's fine.
There you go. There is our the perfect analogy. So now you get to that point where you're going to sell the company. How does that work? Did just all of a sudden they show up, or did you run a competitive process? How did that work?
Right. Yeah. That's it's a great story. Is that so? We started getting inbound calls probably in 04, maybe. Probably like 04, maybe. Probably 03, 04. There was a guy from a private equity company, and he had worked at Amazon. He was an executive in Amazon and had moved over to a bank. Harrison Miller. Harrison Miller is the guy. He'd moved over to a private equity firm. He was calling me nonstop. And I was so heads down, I wasn't returning calls. Other bankers were calling me, other people were calling me.
There's a lot of noise when things are going well.
I'm working, and I love what I'm doing, so I'm just doing my thing. I had a question, though, about I had made a couple of hires that didn't go right, and had let go of a couple of people within sort of a rapid period of time, and I was beginning to question myself about, wow, maybe I'm not good at hiring.
Maybe people don't want to work for you.
Right. Or what's the issue?
Maybe you're a jerk.
I'm a maniac. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, you are a maniac, but all CEOs are to a certain extent.
Right. 100%. So I had just read this article about Bezos and about Amazon where they had said that the guy's the worst manager and they have so much turnover at Amazon. This guy is incompetent, right? This is what this is what the reporter was saying. And I don't know about that. Doesn't seem right. But I'd really like to hear it from an insider at the company.
Right.
And he called me a week later, and I said, okay, I'll meet you at the Starbucks, which is literally right up the street here.
Yeah.
I'll meet you at the Starbucks, and we can talk there. So we went down there, and I said, but before we start, before you get any information from me, is that I have a couple of questions for you. My question was, hey, you were at Amazon, and Bezos is supposedly this terror indicated by there's so much turnover at the executive ranks.
Why?
He said it's the exact opposite. Bezos and the board are so good at benchmarking the company and benchmarking people and understanding that that guy was great from 0 to 500 million. He's not going to be good for 500 million to 2 billion. Now 2 billion to 10 billion. We need a different person in these different roles.
Got it.
And they were very intelligent about doing that.
Right. So it looks from the outside like nobody wants to work for Bezos, when in fact,
they're being proactive about either trading up.
We outgrew this person.
That's right. We outgrew, and they would be better over here. And if you go watch, a lot of these people have gone to other, great
places.
companies.
They go to Netflix. They go to Amazon. They go to Google or eBay.
Right. Totally. They're everywhere. So that was a great takeaway. So two things. One was that so I felt really good about that, and I think the next day I probably went in and took action a little bit on that. On something I had been delaying. And that's the other thing you learn is that the moment. If you are the executive of the company or you are a manager, the day you think it is not working with somebody,
it's not.
It stopped working 60 days ago.
Yes. Yes.
And everybody else in your department or the company knows it is not working.
They know. The writing's on the wall.
They know. And you, as the leader, need to take action right now.
Quick.
That's right.
There's no reason for them to be there if it's not going to work out long term.
Absolutely.
As Elon Musk said to me one time, if there's any doubt, there's no doubt.
That's right. 100, I am 100% in agreement with that. And you have to have discipline. And it's hard. I let go of people
human beings,
Right.
You might be friends. You might play basketball together.
Right. It's really awful. So anyway, so we did that. And then to this Amazon point of people then go other places, I mean, one of the things that I'm proud about is all over Los Angeles, there are Lower My Bills people.
Alumni.
That are helping
I get their
most
resumes
of the major
sometimes.
companies that are in this
They're considered
town.
really good. I mean, I get people poaching Mahalo people now.
Right, which is
I have companies targeting this company.
Right. I hate it at the time.
Oh, I hate that.
The reality is when you think about it,
I'm emailing somebody yesterday just about poaching. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Really? Do you want me poaching your people?
That's right.
Trust me, you
it
don't.
It becomes a war.
Yeah.
So then what happened on the selling thing is that, so I started taking some more meetings with people.
Yeah.
And it was I think it was about sometime in late 2004 where I decided, okay, let's go out. We hired a banker to help us, and we started taking meetings. And originally, I wasn't going to sell the company. I was going to sell a piece of the company and take some money off the table to put over here, because despite how positive you are about your business, I recommend that opportunity if you have it.
Yeah.
There's a great quote, hey, how do you get rich? Sell too early.
Yeah.
Right? So take some chips off the table, put them on the side.
No doubt.
So we started having these meetings, and literally we had 8 meetings and got 6 term sheets.
Hello.
Which was
good feeling.
Which was great. Yeah, which was terrific. A funny story is the only guy that didn't give us a term sheet is a guy named Mike Cuman, who is a guy I invested in to Bouscapé, which is my first private investment.
Yes,
he is one of the partners at Great Hill, a private equity company in Boston. And he led the investment into Bouscapé, which we just made a ton of money on recently. This
was your first exit?
Yeah, that was my first investment that I made after I sold the company, which was
your
with
first
him.
exit.
Right, that was my first exit.
But he passed.
And he passed on Lower Bills, so it's very funny.
Interesting.
So while we were looking at those term sheets...
So you don't take it personal when somebody passes? Just might not be a fit.
No, you do. No, I don't take it personal when they pass on the investment later. I did take it personal early. There were a few people that told me there's no way Lower My Bills is the worst idea I've ever heard. And... you don't get over that, and it's a gratifying feeling. Of course, versus when they then see you and they're like, "Wow,
you're never going to make it in the NBA," and now I'm dunking on you and have a ring.
That's right. Where's
your ring?
That's right. That's right. So that's a real terrific feeling. So while we were doing that process, we'd had some meetings with some other companies that might be interested in buying the company, and one sort of had given us this, crazy lowball offer. We didn't respond to that at all. And subsequently, actually, just a side note, a few months later, they ended up suing us. Ironically.
Yeah.
So while we had figured out, all right, this is the deal we're going to take.
Right.
And to sell a piece of the company, we had figured it all out. It was a really great firm. I love the people there. It was a good deal, the whole thing. And we decided that we're going ahead with that. And then Experian had just come back and said, hey, we want to do something. And so within the span of maybe 48 hours, we figured it out. Well, no, what's unique about that is that was January 11th, 2005.
Yeah.
At 8 a.m. on January 11th, 2005, my daughter was born. At 6 p.m., I got an email from the company. It was the first $1 million day of revenue in the history of Lower My Bills.
Wow.
And at 8 p.m., I walked across the street to Jerry's Deli to look at a term sheet to sell the company.
Wow.
All in the span of 12 hours.
It's pretty good 12 hours.
It was the best. Right.
Yeah.
It was really terrific.
I mean, if you could put things in order, your daughter.
It was great.
Amazing.
Right. Success at the company.
A great success at the company, and then somebody wants to buy the company.
Right. Yeah, it was.
I mean, did you pick up a lottery ticket on the way home?
I should have.
You should have picked up a lottery ticket.
I should have.
Head to Commerce. Play the big game.
Right, that's right. I should have done that. I'm not a good poker player generally.
You're getting there.
I try.
You know why you'll ultimately be a good poker player? Because you get really pissed off when you lose.
Yes.
You are so angry, and it's $500 or $300, and you're steaming.
Yeah. I feel the same way on deals. There are some companies that I haven't pushed enough chips in.
Right.
And I'm like, I want to.
Can I have my cards back?
Oh, right.
I folded my cards.
I want to redo.
Right. I get my flush.
Right. Redeal. So we had that deal, and I liked the Experian guys. They're great people, and so decided to do it, and off we went. One thing that I will share with folks is that the next day after I sold it was all fun, done, got our money, communicated to the employees, was probably like the most downer day. Depressing day for me.
Postpartum.
Where I realized, wow, what have I done?
It's over.
Why did I sell my baby that I love?
It's brutal.
I love doing it. I love the people at the company, and I had this offer to sell a piece.
Right.
And so I was just so annoyed with myself, and literally for the next year, I would whine about that.
I remember.
To my wife, right? To my
me,
friends,
to your
my wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It was nonstop whining.
Oh, well, maybe I should have done it.
And so, yeah,
it was kind of annoying, by the way. I mean, if you sell your company for almost $500 million, and then you start complaining about it to a guy who's living in a corporate apartment for $2,000 a month, driving
but
a
it wasn't
Mini Cooper.
the money. I mean,
of course.
but it was really just that whole scenario of doing that, and so that was a good one. The one thing I'd also tell people when you're thinking about selling a business is that my recommendation is to spend as much time and then even more on the buyers on figuring out why do they want to buy you.
Right.
What is their motivating reason? You really want to understand that, because there are things that can go on at boards. I've now seen this subsequently in just different companies I've been involved with. I was on the board of business.com when we sold that to a company for about $300 million plus. Is that there are things going on at other companies, their boards, that cause them to think in ways that either may not be rational at the time or might allow you just some leverage.
Right.
And information is power, right? In the same way that you optimize your business, you really want to optimize that.
If I had known
really figure that out.
If I had known that Weblogs Inc. would be AOL's go-to-market IPO strategy, maybe I don't sell.
Right.
Or maybe I sell for a bigger number.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I don't think they even knew it was that at the time. I mean, they went through 3 CEOs since then.
But if you can figure those sorts of things out.
Why exactly do they want to buy it?
Right. I mean, it's like selling anything. So if I'm selling ad space, I want to understand my my buyers in terms of what
you want to buy my Lakers tickets. Why exactly?
Right.
Oh, okay. Posh and Becks are sitting here.
Right. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Price just doubled.
Price just doubled. All right. So now we do the part of the program called the news. Can we bring our good friend Mr. Lon Harrison for the news? You'll sit in for the news. He says a news story. We respond to it.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple formula.
Okay.
I was going to ask you something. How much do you charge for somebody to come and pitch you as an angel investor?
Normally, I buy them coffee.
Right.
Or a hot chocolate.
Right. But what's the fee to pitch you?
None.
No fee to pitch you.
No.
So Keiretsu Farm charging $1,500, and you have to buy 4 cities and $6,000. You don't charge $6,000 to hear the pitch. But you invest in companies.
Yes.
So how do I reconcile this? Don't all angel investors take money from the people pitching them?
I don't think any real angel investors
Have you ever heard of such a practice?
I've never heard of it outside of you slamming them and trying to kill them.
Right. And so, what would your advice be to a young person who says, I've been offered to pitch an angel breakfast and they want me to pay $500, $1,000, $6,000. What's your advice to that entrepreneur?
Right. I wouldn't do it. Right.
Period.
And I think the reason is because generally you're finding people at those events that are not. They may be legitimate, but I don't think they're legitimately doing angel investing.
Right.
Generally.
They may be bankers or headhunters.
Right.
That's what we heard from a lot of people. Correction Forum was filled with non-angel investors.
Right. Now there are, I see events where people charge $25 entrance fee for everybody that attends. And
yeah, well, that's different.
That feels like a different
gig. But paying for a ticket
I think charging somebody who doesn't have any money.
It's kind of ghetto.
Right. That's weak.
It's pretty weak.
To do that.
Interesting. So. Okay, so Lon is here.
Hello.
And we're ready for Lon's news. You see Lon's news?
Does he know Hot Luck?
Look.
Okay.
Lon's news.
Right.
What's Hot Luck?
I've seen this.
He's seen it.
He probably should know Hot Luck.
What is Hot Luck? I don't know Hot Luck.
Are we live?
We are now.
We're now live.
I'll tell you after.
Hot Luck.
So Hot Luck is a company I've invested in that's here in town that is fashion. That's why I recommended it.
Oh, cool.
Yes, of course.
Obviously, a subject that interests me greatly.
Of course.
This is a great company, and it's a great example of a startup just accelerating like crazy. And you spell it HAUTELOOK. It's really Outlook.
Like
but if you type in hotlook.com, it also goes there. And what they do, it's flash sales. For the next 48 hours, you can get 50, 60, 70% off of great fashions, men or women. Great category, great team.
There's a couple of sites doing this, right?
And these are one of the key companies.
There you go. I'm at
doing it.
I'm checking it out right now. And so tell us, what is in the news?
We're going to jump right in.
Let's jump right in.
First story, Google plus Gizmo 5. Google announced on Thursday that it had acquired Gizmo 5, producers of a desktop, soft phone, and VoIP network.
Yep.
A few other details available other than they plan to integrate the Gizmo 5 team into the Google Voice team, and they're sort of folding up no more new Gizmo 5 signups. When Google acquired Grand Central, it took them 2 years to get Google Voice off the ground. Think we're going to see something faster come together from this new collaboration?
Gizmo 5 is a little bit more robust of a company. They've been around for a little while now. I mean, they came out, I don't know if when Skype came out or shortly thereafter, but a number of years they've been around.
Right.
There was talk of Google buying Skype. I've heard from qualified people that they tried, and they didn't. And obviously, it's going to go public or something to that effect now.
Yes.
So going public sometimes is a way of getting your price to go up. So you don't be surprised if Skype files to go public and then is bought before it goes public by Google. It is a possibility, but they would want a big number. And this is the consolation prize for not getting Skype. They already have Google Chat.
They have Google Talk.
Google Talk.
And which already sort of integrates with Google Voice. Yeah.
So I wonder if this technology is any better than that or worse.
Or they just didn't want Skype to get it, perhaps, or something else.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there may be some patent technology or something there. And they also didn't disclose the price.
No, they didn't.
So,
there was a lot of guesswork on there, but I couldn't find any definite numbers.
I don't know anybody who uses that product.
Nor I.
So this could be buying a team. This could be buying intellectual property. Or something in that realm. It is not buying. It's not like buying AdMob where they're buying momentum and a brand and a team. If this feels like a consolation prize to me. You know anything about this?
I don't. I'm not a user of theirs. I mean, I use Skype certainly.
Sure.
But my sense. I mean, everything I think Jason just said is accurate and certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
And I think that Google's already announced that they're going to do. They're open for business in terms of acquisition. So I think we'll see a lot more of them, as we have seen in the past week.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, what happened to venture capital is dead. Investing is dead. Nobody's ever going to make money selling a company again. And in 1 week, $1 billion in transactions for a 3-year-old company, and maybe this one's 5 or 6 years old. I don't know. I mean, there's something in the water. I mean, Bing, Yahoo, Google, News Corp. You've got a lot of buyers out there with Apple, huge hordes of cash. I mean, if Apple wanted to buy something right now, with $35 billion, they could have bought Yahoo.
Right.
It'd be Apple, Yahoo. I mean, not that they would buy that. They don't really do the web. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them buy an online backup system or something like that. Yeah. They could spend, $1 billion on a company or two, a networking equipment manufacturer. It's totally conceivable. Anyway, what do you think about this M&A
Well, I've got
market?
stuff for sale, obviously.
Yeah, look at 12 sites. 12 sites for here. I see Mahalo on this list. Is that available? That's a premium, right?
It's all
That's
available.
top shelf. Okay, so it's not for sale except at the right price.
Right. That's the great thing also as an investor, now no longer as the founder, operator, is I'm not emotionally attached. It's all for sale.
It's all for sale.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you invested.
That's right.
For the fun, it's great time, but at the end of the day, you're here to make money.
Right, that's right.
Like everybody else.
So Mahalo's for sale? Is that the
Is
news
it?
that comes
Yes.
out?
Okay.
Is that
Anybody in
coming
the
out?
chat room, please go for it.
Make us an offer?
Through PayPal.
Through PayPal.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if there's enough zeros in there. No, my position has always been I want to build one of the top 25 most traffic sites. We're at 150, 145, depending on the day.
40-something.
Yeah, with momentum.
With momentum, so why stop now? My feeling is we're going to go right into the top 100 the next 6 months. So why stop? And we've got the greatest investors who are willing to give us more money, and we still have tons of their money left, and we're going to be break even in the next 6 months. So,
Boom.
Sounds
boom.
good.
We're in good shape. But the show is not about Mahalo. What's the next story?
No. The next story. CNN.com layoffs. CNN.com has let go of its live stream anchors and production staff. It will no longer produce continuous live video programming in any sort of traditional news format. It's going to produce video packages, cover live events. Considering the growing popularity of video, it almost seems like this is inevitable that this will happen. The web will have a streaming live news service, or maybe not. But why do you think this isn't working out so far for CNN?
Well, first off, I didn't even know this existed. Wait, you're not saying CNN is going off the air. They're not firing.
No, CNN.com. If you turn
Right.
on CNN.com,
Right.
you would be seeing a live stream of the news, but it would not be the exact same news you're seeing on the
Well,
TV
why would
channel.
it be any different? I mean, this doesn't
why?
seem like a good decision. Why? I mean, if I turn, because they have the cable providers who are paying them have a conflict, they can't
Right.
put CNN on the web
So do
without.
they do a little bit of editing? Is that what
So they put a different CNN on the air.
They have their own anchors. A lot of the footage you're going to see is
Yeah,
the same,
yeah.
but they're not kicking it back to Wolf Blitzer. They're kicking it back
I'll
to
tell you why.
some guy.
Okay.
on
When
the
you
web.
turn on CNN.com, it is like the New York Times site. They don't put a big video box on it
Right.
that auto loads.
Yeah.
If they wanted to build this, the proper thing to do would be to put a big, just like a Ustream box, and it should auto load. If I type in CNN, I should have my speakers on the right volume, and it should just load and start playing.
Right.
They don't do that.
No, they don't do that.
Leo Laporte's doing this on This Week in Tech when he does Twit Live. He has mastered this. It's totally possible. He does it himself alone. Oh, not a 24-hour news network, but 5-6 hours a day. They should do it in a very grungy way, like the old CNN. Matt's writing down now because he's going to probably start this company. And why not just, I mean, we could do it here in the studio. We
then
have
sell
somebody
it back
talking
to
about the news.
Right. I mean, it seems like this is going to happen. There's going to be
Why don't we
How about in 1 week?
streaming news shows.
Why don't we do it? We'll do it next week for a week.
Right.
We'll take this room. This is a good idea.
This is a good idea.
We'll get Rich
And crush
DeMuro.
them in 1 week.
In 1 week, we'll show CNN what they should have done.
Right.
We'll get Rich DeMuro here. He's a good newscaster. You're a good newscaster. I could probably...
Hot local will
Yeah,
outfit everybody.
right.
Yeah,
you know,
no, I should say we'll get...
Get some Hugo Boss.
Get
or
some Hugo
something
Boss in
going,
here. No,
you know.
but seriously, if you sat in this studio with CNN on in the background and you just cut to it once in a while... and
Just cut to a TV with CNN on.
well, you could just
Yeah.
say, like... You could, in fair use, show a couple of seconds, like under 15 seconds or whatever, but you
Right.
could just
Is
talk
that what
about...
it is? Under 15 or what about under 60? Under 15?
There is no specific number in law because there is some content that is only 15 seconds long, so taking 60 means you're taking all of it.
Right.
So what
So
they do is they leave it up to a judge
Okay.
as to if you're damaging the
Right.
brand
Yeah.
by taking it,
Right.
if you are confusing the public
Right.
by taking it,
Yeah.
and this sort of four-part test of fair use.
Right.
What education is
Right, right,
another
right. Yeah,
exception.
I think
stuff
we can
like that.
crush these guys.
Yeah, just cut to
Well,
like,
they don't even exist anymore.
what you could be doing is though you could
Easier.
you could have like picture in a
That makes it
picture, so
easier
you
to
could
cut.
have like us talking while we're watching
Yeah.
CNN.
Yeah.
Right. That's
And
what
that I think would be totally
Yeah, yeah,
legal.
yeah.
Like we're watching
We're
CNN,
You're commenting on.
commenting
it.
on.
Yes, you're not.
This is
you're
a good
not
idea for a
showing
business. Hey,
Yeah.
this is what This Week in Startups is all about. Coming up with great ideas.
We're pitching ourselves.
We're pitching ourselves.
Yeah,
we
right.
like our idea. I think
That's a great example of the
Should I
problem.
call back
that's the problem. We're drinking our own Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I think we should pitch ourselves this idea.
I'll call back on the Shark Tank next week.
Absolutely.
Tell me what you
Yeah,
think.
I'm going to step outside and call in. Hello, I'm calling from Brentwood.
I
Okay.
have a new company.
else?
I have a new idea. Next story.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Yidio and Clicker. Clicker was a
Yes.
TechCrunch 50 company.
Great company.
They have launched this week. They want to be the TV guide of the internet.
Well
they
done.
index 400,000 full episodes, 7,000 TV shows are represented, and they help you find whatever you're looking for, no matter where it's sort of streaming. Backed by Benchmark Capital, Redpoint Ventures. So what appealed to you about Clicker? Why did they get in the show? What was it that sort of jumped out at you?
Well-conceived and executed product that I would use. That's usually my criteria. Like, if I would use this product, I could see my mom using it or whatever, and it's well executed.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, I have it up on my site. I mean, it looks like something I would use. And
it is
when he
much
explained
easier.
to me the pain points, just like Matt's trying to get his cell phone bill taken care of, his pain point was he couldn't find episodes of Seinfeld online, and he found out they were on like some other site. Had the same exact thing happen to me with Battlestar Galactica. We're trying to watch the last 5 episodes of the last 6 episodes. We can't find the 6th episode, but we find the last 5 on Hulu. Where's the 6th?
Right.
They only have the last 5.
Right. A product feature that all these guys should have, just a side note, is not only just of what's on the net, but also on my television. It is so frustrating sometimes to be like, hey, I can't find the Lakers. I'm in New York. I can't find the Lakers game or something, and I'm using them like, wow, what I want is a search box.
Right.
And instead, I'm on my Flickr, and it's like,
Yeah.
I wanted to kill me. Or the World Series was on a different channel. It was like driving me
It's a
nuts.
disaster.
So not just be TV Guide for the web, just be TV Guide.
Or,
and it's
or,
everything.
or
It's
some
the web,
element of
it's
that. I mean,
TV.
they might put that on their not now list right
They
now.
might.
Right now, but I think that's a.
Hey,
a
Alex,
thing.
can we put the AC on in here? It's just getting stifling hot now.
And I'd
We're
like
dying.
a soda.
A soda, if we got some Diet Cokes for the boys. 2 Diet Cokes.
I don't drink Diet Coke.
Oh, what do you drink? Regular Coca-Cola?
I don't drink Coca-Cola, but for some reason I'm kind
You
of
feel like you want a Coca-Cola?
Yeah, you know.
So Coca-Cola and a Diet Coke. Let's ice the place up and let's hear another story before
Are they
we
a
go
sponsor?
Well, actually, there's kind of a...
No.
Coca-Cola, we got to get them in here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We actually have a sort of second part of that story. There's a different site that does almost the same thing that also is launching, or has launched, and raised $500,000 in angel funding.
Oh, yes, I know
hit
this.
4 million sites.
This is
Yidio. Yes, San Diego-based Yidio.
Yidio?
Yidio. They've hit 4 million uniques a month, and so they just got half a million.
4 million uniques a month? I don't believe that.
Yes, well, that was the figure.
I don't believe that.
Well, maybe
I've
they're
heard about this, though,
numbers.
because...
That's according to ComScore. So
man.
what can these sites do to set themselves apart? There's so many other sites already that do similar things. Now 2 sites are both jumping in. What's going to be the game changer? What's going to be the
He
one
said
thing
it
that
already,
one of them
distribution.
Distribution. To me, like
Who gets it onto
it's a distribution issue, and then there's the nuance of the product itself. I think in these highly competitive areas, if you can just narrow the focus and really have the best usability and get people to what they're trying to get done faster. And I'm amazed sometimes I will see guys in 2nd and 3rd place that still have crappy usability.
Right.
And they're just not getting it, man.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, just looking at the 2 sites, here's Yidio,
Right.
and then here's like Clicker. Clicker's better.
It's going to crush them.
It's going to crush you because their design's much better and they have a better domain name. So Yidio is going to lose. Also, you said they claim they have 4 million uniques.
That's ComScore. Those are ComScore numbers.
Okay, but even if ComScore is a sample-based and they quantify with 1.6, so what is it? I don't know.
Somewhere in there.
Do you
I
check
don't-
your news before you come on?
If it's out
it's
there,
not
if
you
it's
I'm complaining about
sourced,
it. I'm just complaining about
I'm going to
ComScore.
read it.
Yeah.
I did screw up that one time. There was that TechCrunch fake out video.
Oh, you got faked out really
and I got
bad.
faked out.
Yeah, that was
so that
pretty
has
good.
happened.
Okay.
But only once. Usually pretty
Are we
good.
talking about the Oprah thing today
What Oprah
that
thing?
we were talking about at lunch?
No, that
Okay,
was
we're not
we're
done.
talking about the Oprah thing with the woman
with
got
the chimp.
The
It's
chimp.
not- I
no.
usually try to keep it to tech news.
Okay.
Yes,
can-
we
can
don't want
open
to
it
talk
up
about
if we want.
graphic
Okay.
people
Yeah.
having their face
Face-
ripped off by
Chimp
chimpanzees. That
face
was
stuff.
just
That's nasty.
horrific.
Okay.
Let's move on to Reddit sponsored links.
By the way, we're now up to like 375 people in the chat room. I'll take the Diet Coke Sprite for him. Beautiful. Look at this.
Look at
It's okay.
that.
Don't worry about it.
Wow, this
It's
is
just-
service.
This is on the internet. Nobody cares if we're opening sodas. Or
I've been on a lot of TV
nothing
shows
for Lon.
before.
Lon's good.
I'm a little parched.
Lon's good.
Dry.
I've been on a lot of TV
Dryness.
shows as interviews, and I never get this kind of
Yeah, that's
service.
service.
No, no,
so
this
this
is-
is
Lon, what would you like?
This is good.
I'll have a Diet Coke.
Yeah, he knows if he has a Sprite, I'm going to start
See?
riding
Yeah,
him hard.
on the air. I can-
Exact-
we
on
can
the
do
air. It's
without
exactly
that.
what
We
you
can do
need.
without that.
Have you gone to Mahalo Fit Club yet?
I have not. I don't do Taekwondo.
See you on Taekwondo on Sunday.
Taekwondo.
Sunday.
Not so much Fit Club.
Oh, wait,
It's
wait.
too much with the medicine balls and.
We have
It'll
we're
kill
trying to
me.
make this is a side. In the end of the show, we get a little looser. We're trying to make Mahalo into the greatest place to work, and make the employees like part of the nanny state, so they cannot take care of themselves anymore on their own. So if they leave, they're so the guy who comes and details the Tesla at my house is like a mobile cleaning service. Agreed to clean the cars here for $20. So I thought, I've got like 20 cars here.
He'll clean all the cars for $20?
20 each.
Okay.
It's $400.
Yeah.
I mean, we make that in a good hour or two of AdSense.
Right.
So my
Is that
guys,
approved by investors?
it's below $10,000. I don't need your approval. Although it's borderline, I would say it's definitely out there. If the board doesn't approve it, I'll pay for it personally.
We used to do this lower bills. I love it.
Right. So
all these perks are great.
So every other month, we're going to clean everybody's cars.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is sign up for $2, and that's the tip for the guy.
Right.
Second, we hired a chef.
Yeah.
And the chef, it sounds like an outrageous expense. They're not that expensive.
I love it.
And she cooks breakfast, lunch, 3 o'clock snack brought to people, fruit brought to everybody's desk.
I've had fruit here.
You had the fruit here. They cut fruit, bring it to everybody's desk at 3 o'clock,
Right.
and then they bring nuts and trail mix and beef jerky at 5. Then
beef jerky.
whatever, anything like that.
Are we getting beef jerky?
We're going to
now,
have
really?
that. I requested it because that's a good snack. Trying to stay in the zone.
No, that is classy.
And then we have a washer dryer here because a lot of the guys live in apartments. They forget to do their laundry, and so lawn all the time.
Very clean. Very clean.
I'm going to send them to your stylist. Anyway, we're going to have somebody
I don't
come
have a stylist, just to be clear.
Please, but you look like you're Tom Cruise over here. Someone was commenting on your good looks in the chat room here. We're going to have somebody come. I haven't announced this, but the Mahalo staff is going to give out a loud cheer when they hear this one.
Really?
And I can't promise anything yet. But we got an ad up on Craigslist for a laundry person. So the Mahalo employees will come in with their bag of laundry and hand it to them, and we will do the laundry.
Wow.
Ooh. So
That is spectacular.
Now, you got to think about this for a second. I've done the math on this. I have programmers, developers here. I mean, Lon, he doesn't make a lot of money, so I would let him do his own laundry. I'm just kidding. But for these developers, they, this is like hours of their week. How long does it take to do your laundry? I haven't done my laundry in 10 years, but it takes a long time.
At least 2 hours.
2 hours a week.
At least 2 hours.
That's
per
100 hours
section.
a year. If I can take 100 hours a year for that, it takes, I don't know if you've gone to one of these car washes, it takes an hour to get to the car wash.
I love it.
Oh, man.
So
You got another one?
Well, related to this is that
Keep them coming. This is good.
is related to this a sector that, and I'm now telling everybody, come pitch me if you have a business in
Okay,
this
come
area.
pitch this one. This is a request for request
and
for
I have,
proposal.
And I have 4.
RFP.
But I'm going to tell you the first one, which
Right.
is that I am such a huge believer in this virtual assistant market.
Yes. Nobody's made it work.
No one's made it work. I use one right now for $1 a task.
What?
I can shoot off an email, and for $1, they'll make me flight reservations, or they'll go online. I'll send them like my American Express charge, the $19.95 recurring stuff that's on there, AOL, blah blah blah. This company, that company. I will just cut and paste, send that to them. They sit on hold with all these jokers, and then just pass me through, Mr. Coffin. We have so and so on the line. Can you give authorization? I love the virtual assistant for research, creating PowerPoints, all this stuff. No one has busted out there. I will fund a company in that market if someone comes to me with a good idea
Of how to do it.
I'll fund it.
Is that because there's not enough profit margin in it, in the labor issue? Because people, Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week, send all your work to India, but then the Indian person doesn't understand the stuff or whatever.
Right. Well, I think I have some ideas that I'm not going to release today
Here, right.
on how to do it.
Right.
But one thing I will tell you is that having a virtual assistant is one of the greatest training for managers. If you're a manager, what you will often find out, is that new managers don't realize that they need to be really clear.
Yes, concise.
Right? It's not if Jason was managing me, I know how horrible that might be. But,
Yes.
but if he was, it's not my fault for not understanding. Jason, it's his fault.
It is my
He's
job to
not
communicate.
Clear enough. So when you manage someone outsourced, like a virtual assistant, is that you get very precise about what you're telling
Call
them. So it's
American
it's a
Express,
good little
do this.
management thing. And I think every early stage company, if they could be getting stuff done at $1 or $2 a task for some of these same kinds of things that are not physical, though.
And Mahalo Tasks is our way of saying, take all the editorial and put it out to the audience. And we're trying to get the audience to do all kinds of interesting things like SEO or fact checking or citations or proofing through that kind of a system like Amazon Turk. So it is definitely a virtuous idea.
And that's the key point. I think what we discovered is the more information we give on the front end, the more clear we are about exactly what we want, the results just get better and better and better.
Yeah.
It really isn't
100%.
You tend to think it's like, oh, these people aren't up to it or can't do it. It's not that at all.
Right.
Well, we had people in Manila, and we sort of saw where the breaking point was. Like, there are some cultural things, but if you gave them very explicit instructions, there were a lot of things they could do as well or better than people in our office.
They would really rise to the challenge if we gave them very explicit, step-by-step, here's what we want.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Oh, wait, you know what? I just want to do a little thing here about Audible. Can I say a few words about Audible?
Well, and I have my 3 categories that I want to fund right now.
Oh, so. Go. We got the first. Wait, you got the first.
The first is, so virtual assistant business.
Okay, we got it.
And then I'm very interested in mobile.
Mobile.
Super interested in mobile. And this is pre-AdMob. Just
okay, but it's a very specific thing in mobile or just mobile in general?
I think mobile in general, but I'm very interested. I'd love to fund a company here in Los Angeles in the mobile business. Or Los Angeles or Utah, just as a side note.
Spend a little time in Utah.
Yeah. Is that
somewhere where you can? And this is a big thing, actually. Geography matters.
Yeah, it does matter.
You want to be able to stop by.
That's right.
You come by Mahalo all the time.
Right. Yeah, it's fun for me, and I think it's better leverage for my investment. It's better for the company.
Better for us. We have free advice.
Yeah. So mobile social commerce, I think, is another area that I'm very interested in.
Social commerce. What does that mean?
And then, well, I think anything where you're leveraging the thoughts of others regarding what you're going to buy, or the input from groups regarding what you're going to buy, or group buying, or whatever it might be.
Well, I used to be on the board of this next. So it's social shopping. There's something there. Nobody's broken out yet.
That's right. And they were early.
They were very early. And they've done well.
Arrows.
Yeah, they got a lot of arrows.
Yeah. But what's interesting, because I think what this next did is they're definitely tapped onto something that feels like they were dead on. In terms of the kind of thing.
It's been going. I don't think everybody's been growing with it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the audience isn't ready. So in order to get that curve, the audience has to be ready to embrace it.
Yeah.
So Twitter, 5 years ago, it would have stalled.
Yeah.
Blogging 5 years ago was just right, the timing, but 5 years before that, people had tried and it didn't work.
Right.
There were all kinds of journaling software. So it really is, sometimes the audience has to get educated enough. Online editing of video.
Right.
People had those ideas for a long time, but now that YouTube's been out for a while, these online video editors where you do the editing on the web, they're starting to actually work. Or people doing it on their phones, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
Timing is everything. Okay, these are all very good.
And so the last one is I basically would almost have like an open checkbook to fund if you have worked at one of the companies that has gotten bought here in Los Angeles, or is just on steroids in terms of their growth, and you were not a part of the executive team, but you were close enough where you could taste it, you knew what, and you've learned the lessons of that business, and you want to build a business in a very close vicinity
an adjacency
to that business, I'm in.
Right. So basically your theory there is the person was kicked and held back from the management team. They learned, and they're going to break out with something that they weren't able to do at that company, or something adjacent to it because they learned something there.
Or they have the next gen version of that business. Yeah, I love it.
I should create a human-powered search engine.
You know what? Really that's it. I'm ending this show. That's it. And thank you all for tuning in. You're fired.
Very interesting.
All right, no, but you know what else is very interesting? Audible.com.
Yes,
very interesting. And everybody knows Audible is a huge sponsor. I love Audible. I listen to Audible while I'm dunking off thousands of dollars at Commerce Casino. I'm listening to The Copper Bracelet, which is available. TWiST viewers can get the first chapter free and a special discount on the whole book. You go to audible.com/TWiST, TWiST, Copper, COPPER.
Yes.
TWiST Copper.
TWiST Copper.
Great book. Everybody loves it who's gotten it so far. If you go and buy something at Audible, this is what I do for the folks who buy it. You send your receipt to contact@thisweekinstartups. Anybody who sends the receipt to contact@thisweekinstartups, when they email you the email, you send it to us. We give you a Mahalo pack, which is a Mahalo bag, a Mahalo beach towel, a Mahalo hat, a Mahalo iPhone case, a Mahalo mug, and I put a $20 bill in there to pay for your first month in cash. That's how we do it.
I like it.
Brooklyn style.
Nice.
But I basically pay for your first month. That's how, and we did this for Audible. We got 100 people did it. So then when Audible did the sponsor, say, hey,
right.
They say, I say, how's it doing? They go, yeah, we've gotten some good people. I'm like, yeah, I know. I have the 100 receipts here
like
of who bought your stuff. Like, you're going to cancel the sponsorship now? I got it.
Right, you're helping friends pay less.
I'm helping friends pay less, so you guys go out, support the show, sign up for Audible, audible.com/TWiST Copper, COPPER. We have 2 huge sponsorships coming in the new year.
Oh, really?
I cannot talk about them, but when I tell you these 2 company names, one of them is one of my favorite brands of all time, like Audible level brand that I'm not going to say anything else.
Krispy Kreme?
What? I'm editing out the end of the show. I do like a little Chris. I'll see you on the basketball court tomorrow.
It's a great brand.
Matt Coffin. Matt, just for the record, Matt Coffin is the Bruce Bowen of Brentwood. This guy has more broken noses or crooked noses in Brentwood do this guy's elbows in the basketball court. But I will see you tomorrow bright and early, 8:30.
8:30.
8:30. And our friend said he can use the pool, right? Yes. So everybody go get Audible. That's fine. People, and this is funny. Everybody's laughing at me in the chat room. Thanks to their Jason Nation. Zing, pow, rolling on the floor laughing. Oh, God. If we have anybody who pitches that does a good job here, we can send them to you, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right, so there you go.
It's my email address is matt@mattcoffin.net.
There you go. So if anybody wonders how you get in touch with an angel investor, matt@mattcoffin.net.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. MATTCOFFEN.
IN.
That's what I said, IN.net. Coffin. Next story.
Next story.
Last story, next story.
Reddit sponsored links. Let's talk about that. Social aggregator Reddit is allowing companies to pay for sponsored links on the site's front page.
Great.
Link says sponsored on it, but it's the top link on the front page. They say they see about a 2 to 10% click-through rate on links that are in that spot.
Perfect.
It's kind of an interesting system how they're doing it. You make a minimum bid of $20, and then based on how many bids they get and how much they're for, that's how they determine how long you're on the front page. And the cool part is you can get voted up even if you're the sponsored link. So if it's a really good link and people like it, you'll probably stay on the front page. They got
this idea from StumbleUpon.
Well, and Dig too.
And Dig, but StumbleUpon was the first to do it. StumbleUpon would pay to put your stuff in front of the users, and if it went through, you would get thumbs up, and then so they're basically juicing the organic voting system.
Mm-hmm.
You basically get to put your stuff up there to be voted on. This is great. I would like to see us put a question from Mahalo on there.
Like Mahalo Answers on
Mahalo,
there.
let's try to get a Mahalo Answers question on there and see if it gets voted up, like something really controversial. I like it.
And you pay $20.
Minimum $20, but you can bid as much as you want.
How long does it stay up there?
You know, that's what I'm saying is, let's say 10 people show up in a day and all bid $20. So it would be, $200 total for the day. You'd get 10% of that day. You would be up there. But if somebody comes and bids $1,000, you're up there for 5 minutes. They're going to dominate the whole day. So that's the way it works. So
it's a little bit of an auction. Let's try it this weekend.
Yeah, you're taking a little gamble when you bid your $20 that other people aren't going to bid hundreds of dollars.
I wonder if it's a no-follow link or a follow link. That would be interesting. If it's a follow link,
I don't know,
then you're buying a link. So let's check that out. I wonder, somebody take a look at it, look at the source code, if it's no-follow or not. They may be selling page rank there. Okay, anyway, keep going.
An interesting tie into the social commerce discussion we were just having, Retrievo. It's a startup. They aggregate reviews for consumer electronics from thousands of sites across the web, and then they use their own technology to sort of sift through it and try to aggregate all these reviews into basically an overview of, should you buy this product, how good is it, what's the sort of price you should try to pay. The 2 interesting things they're doing, you can text message them through SMS and they'll get back to you, or you can tweet them at @RetrievoQ, and they will tweet you back with the info.
Spell the name.
RETREVO. Retrievo.
So they aggregate reviews from all over the web?
Yeah, everything from Amazon
Tomatoes.
and CNET to, blogs and message boards and what people are saying.
I'm not a fan of that. Feels like there's a zillion guys out there.
There's a lot of people doing this. There's actually one site that's doing all the reviews. What's the name of that company? They're really crushing it. They're doing, it's like Power Reviews or something, but they do the review engine for all the different retailers, put them all back into one location, and then they share them amongst all the people. So if my camera store only has 2 reviews for this camera and you have 3 and Lons has 1, we all share each other's reviews and put them into one place. So we all have critical mass on our site.
Yeah,
and whatever.
I like that.
The problem with this is, goes back to Matt's problem of distribution. Like, how's anybody going to find out about this? If you really want to build a standalone brand like this, you're going to have an SEO strategy or a distribution strategy, or you're going to have a lot of money in 5 years to build a brand. And most people are not good at building brands.
That's true.
Most people suck at it, thank God. The one thing I'm good at in life is building a decent brand. Okay, keep going.
A great thing I heard about brands is that I think Bezos says this, which is brands are what people say about you when you're not there.
It's a true reputation.
Mm-hmm.
The true, honest reputation. That's interesting. And now you should know, Amazon and Zappos, that was a great buy.
Yeah.
I mean, two brands that are just awesome.
Great.
Together. And it winds up being a $1.2 billion thing. And interestingly, AdMob, that's another Sequoia company, $2 billion in transactions. I'm so glad I went with Sequoia as the investor. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
We're so privileged to have them. These guys are killers.
They are.
Roloff, smart
everywhere.
guy.
He's a good guy.
It's just that you're included in a group of like, it's like going into a runner's club and like everybody's a better runner than you. So I go in there, it's like, these guys are good runners, you know, like you run faster.
Raises your game.
It raises your game a little bit. It's like when Matt plays basketball with us on Saturdays. Raises the game, brings him up a little bit. From that JV, zing, pow. Here we go. Look at the chat room does nothing. I get to do a zing, pow, nothing. All right. Last story.
Let's make it Boxy and Roku. Boxy aggregates video content from around the web. Up until now, you either have to hook your laptop into your TV or you have to hack your Apple TV to see it on your television. But now the company has announced it's going to partner with an unnamed consumer electronics maker. They're going to make a set-top Boxy box. So you basically be able to watch all the Boxy content right on your TV. It puts them on a direct collision course, however, with Roku, which already has its own cheap box that you can use to watch Netflix, Amazon On Demand, Rev3, Blip TV.
Boxy's going to have a box.
Boxy's got a box. Roku's got a box.
We knew that was coming.
Which box would you pick? Is it worth buying any box? What's going to determine the winner of this showdown?
By the way, we're going to be on Roku.
Oh, we're going to be on Roku?
Blip TV is already going.
Oh, so Roku. We're going to be on Roku. Roku's going to win. If Boxy, does Boxy?
Roku actually, as a side note, I was pitched by Roku.
Oh, really?
The guy, I'm forgetting his name, but the founder of that company had put a ton of his own money into the business, had pushed it in, and he's a really good product guy, as we've seen. And I did not invest, but
Fred Wilson's in Boxy.
It's been great to see. I'm not talking about Boxy. I'm talking about Roku.
Oh, Roku. Yeah.
Is that it's really been great to see the Roku guy be successful, which is terrific. Because I knew he had pushed a lot of chips in.
Of his own money. He's not sponsored by Full Tilt Poker. And Full Tilt wants me to do a couple of tournaments this year, so we're going to have some Full Tilts action. Oh, hey, we don't want to reveal anything. I have the Netflix on my Blu-ray player.
Yes.
And I think that's really the game changer. Like, I think all these other things are nonsense. Once you have Netflix connected to your TV, you're done. You're really done because they have every TV show. They've got everything on there.
Not it's new release stuff is the real holy grail here, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, they're going to charge you for that. Well, DirecTV has that. You can order it. You can order a pay-per-view. So they're always going to have a window of that they're going to make you pay.
Right.
But Netflix, it just seems like there's so many. Do you have this yet on your TV?
No.
You got to talk.
I've used. There was another company.
Yeah. Netflix on demand.
What was the other company that was out there? Maybe there's been a couple of them.
There's been a couple of them.
I had one that I had the box and it's still there, but we'd never access it.
Yeah. So I mean,
I have Netflix through the Xbox. You can do that too. The
do you
PS3,
use it
all the time?
Yeah. I mean,
now especially they've added like half of the Mystery Science theaters ever are on Netflix now.
Overshare.
So yeah.
Overshare.
Who doesn't like Mystery Science Theater?
Okay.
It's hilarious.
No, I'm wondering who actually watched that.
But we're not interested.
Yeah, who watches that? Come on.
You got me there.
All right. So I think that these companies are actually built to get bought. Like the Sling player.
Right.
They're innovating. They're building their own custom hardware. They're not going to have distribution to do this. They build to a certain point, and then somebody big picks them up. Slingbox got picked up. Flip Camera got picked up by Cisco. Who bought Sling? Sling got bought by somebody. Anyway. TiVo didn't get bought, right? Then that's a disaster because they lost the distribution on DirecTV. I mean, they couldn't keep their DirecTV deal. How is that possible? Total disaster. But these things are destined to be bought.
Well, it just seems like there's so many other pieces of hardware you get that have this kind of integrated. The Xbox, the PS3, the Blu-ray players.
Right. Who has created the best company so far that is built completely around you watching TV shows, but simultaneously with your laptop on your lap, so that you can be getting more information about the shows or sports?
Well, I think people just do that with your laptop.
I think there was a company in sports out here that had created a whole application that's, while you're watching on the big screen, you've got the little screen, that you're also getting
Yeah,
additional
I think people
information
just go.
stats.
I mean, I see people with their iPhone applications. I saw people at baseball games with the iPhone application out.
Right.
There's an MLB one that shows each pitch and the stats.
Right. Yeah. the
People
stats
have their
come up
iPhone
live,
out,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
which is
found
cool.
myself. I pulled out for the first time. I was at Madison Square Garden. I wanted to know how many rebounds somebody had or whatever. How many?
Right.
I mean, I knew how many points the Knicks were getting demolished by LeBron James, but I wanted to see how many rebounds they had versus us, and boom, you pull right up.
Right.
Did you get service? AT&T had service in it?
Yeah, it had Wi-Fi in there actually.
Right.
Somebody was
Wow,
providing
right.
free Wi-Fi.
Right. I think a great art exhibition would be photos of people walking around the world, always looking at their iPhone
at their
or
phone.
their BlackBerry. Because if
Yeah.
you walk around any city today,
Yeah, no, people are
it is
bouncing into
really
each other.
it's like crazy.
It's like people are like in some like
Yeah.
boing boing.
and there's this new look, right? That's like you're pained, like look.
or the one with the coffee and, and trying to do the BlackBerry at the same time.
Right,
I mean, it's a
right.
disaster. Any more stories?
I got, I think, one or two more.
Give us one more. Nothing for the Deadpool, right?
No Deadpool.
What
no
about the Lakers?
Deadpool. Nothing about the Lakers.
Nothing about the Lakers.
Kobe
Kobe Bryant,
when
the
they're-
website?
when they're
We
bought
crushed them
by-
last night.
When they're bought by eBay,
right.
we'll talk about it. Twitter, we got a Twitter story again. ComScore.
Twitter.
Twitter.
That's Lauren Feldman.
Twitter's uniques declined in October for the first time.
According to ComScore. Nobody trusts ComScore.
They dropped 8%.
ComScore's garbage. Sorry to ComScore people.
Also, this doesn't. I mean, is it even accurate?
Well, it doesn't
at all?
include mobile.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't
ComScore
include at all like
is a
third-party
scam.
apps or
Yeah,
Brizzly or
right.
anything
I
like
think
that.
for what Twitter, I mean, those third-party data sources are always not exactly accurate,
Right.
Obviously, but they're benchmarks for everybody because they're tracking most people. But I think Twitter's business just doesn't lend itself to that as a benchmark.
Right. I mean, how often do you use Twitter on your phone versus
Right.
on the web?
Well, I mean, even when I'm just on my computer, I've got
You pick up your
Twirl
phone.
open or
Yeah.
Seismic or whatever.
Right.
they're
So
calling
they're
it,
not counting RSS
Right.
pulls
That's
or
I
whatever.
don't really ever go to Twitter.com.
And it's not quantified, so you don't even know. I mean, you realize ComScore is a sample. It's not real statistics. It's based on some sample.
But this stuff gets reported. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
It gets
It's the
reported.
biggest.
I mean, it's
This is why Quantcast is becoming the new ComScore. Quantcast will crush ComScore. I cannot wait till they do. Because ComScore doesn't track it actually. When you go on Quantcast, they actually, for Twitter hasn't put the tracking pixel on it, but we have, and a lot of other sites have. You can see actually specifically how many uniques, how many pages you have, just like Google Analytics. It's a public version of Google Analytics, and Google eventually will have analytics be turned inside out, and you'll be releasing your metrics through Google, and Google will become the auditing firm of the web. Because Google,
Who owns Quantcast?
Quantcast privately owned. A lot of investors. Okay. Yeah, they did a power round of like $20, $30 million. But when you start looking at it, I'm pulling it up here on my screen, and can you pull it up for a second, guys? And when you look, starting past the top 10, 11, weather.com, 13, answers.com, quantified. eHow quantified. Blogspot is being in the process of being quantified. The ones with this little white thing here means they're being quantified, and the one with the purple means they are quantified. A little hard to see on our TV here, but if you start going further down the list, more and more are quantified. Look at this. Between 66 and 91, they're almost all quantified. Dig doesn't quantify. Usually people who don't want their metrics out there don't quantify. But they've got almost all of the 100 now. Wow, that is amazing. So once they have everybody, it's game over. Nobody will ever pay for ComScore again. I'm predicting ComScore out of business. Gone. Disaster. And they deserve it. I hate them. Because they always get the small companies' statistics wrong. And then if you want them corrected, they do not return your email. They will not discuss it with you. And it's really important for a small business to have the proper metrics out there because we get judged by it and it affects our business.
Right.
And they are D-bags. The worst. I hate them.
That's obvious.
They no, I hate
People
this
cut
company.
this part of the show
okay,
out.
cut this part of the show. To the D-bags at ComScore, I hope you die. All startups hate you equally for making us suffer so that you can try to get money from people. Because it really is like a pay-for-play kind of thing. Like, all of a sudden, if you pay, your statistics get better. And I can't afford to pay as a small startup. I hate them. And Quantcast is going to crush you, ComScore. And I'm going to laugh my ass off when they do. And all entrepreneurs and media buyers should be using Quantcast and supporting it and putting it on their tracking pixel. Quantcast should be calling me, make me an advisor, get me 10,000 shares. I don't have any shares in it. I met the CEO, though. Out there. Okay, so we're good. We did a good job.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent work.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Lon. Good job, Lon. Okay, so now this comes with the end of the show. We've been getting a little zen at the end. We dim the lights a little bit. Comes the dimming of the lights. Anybody?
We'll do it later in post.
There's the dimming, a little more dim, a little dimmer. And I want everybody in the chat room now to get ready. We're going to do a quick meditation session here and positive affirmations. And this is actually something that Lon really enjoys.
Yes. I need a break in the middle of my day. I have a lot of stress.
So now I'm going to invite you.
Fairy outfit or something.
that comes right after the show. We don't want to hear that part.
And everybody's.
That's just for me.
I want everybody to relax and make yourself comfortable. Place your feet flat on the floor and rest your hands on your thighs. Gently allow your eyelids to close and just begin to allow yourself to relax, letting all your cares and worries go. You're taking yourself to a place of total relaxation as you completely switch off your thoughts. Be like Jimmy Wales coming up with a new search product. Totally still, completely relaxed. You feel all the tension rush out of your body, replaced by a dark, still, silent emptiness. It's almost like a Keiretsu Forum event, except you feel satisfied and content. A feeling of calmness as you feel every muscle in your chest and abdomen become limp and relaxed. When I count to 5, you will be wide awake and feeling good. 1, you are filled with Tyler quality insights. 2, you will own your own Tesla one day. 3, you are ready to get off the bitch train and crush it. 4, you will soon be one of Quantcast's top 100 sites in the US. 5, open your eyes, you're fully coming back to wake. You feel alert and refreshed, wakey wakey, you're now awake, lights back up. How do you feel, Lon?
Very refreshed.
You feel refreshed? You're ready to get off the bitch train?
It is. I'm off the bitch train. That's
awesome.
It.
You feeling better? You ready to do some good?
I was on the bitch train before.
Yeah, now ready to get off of it. You feeling better now, Matt?
What does that mean?
Bitch train?
That was
one of our guests, Gary Vaynerchuk, who wrote the book Crush It. And we had a caller, and the caller's like, well, I have one idea here that's pretty good, and then I got this other idea that's pretty good, but I don't know if I should pick this idea. And he's like, listen, dude, get off the bitch train, pick one. You're being a bitch. Bitch train, bitch train, bitch train. So now, somebody actually has a website, either bitch
Get Off the Bitch Train or
get off the.
There's a Twitter account too that told me to get off the bitch train.
And now, now this has become like the entire rallying cry. Whenever anybody is whining about, oh, my startup failed, Jimmy Wales.
There it is. Yes.
Yeah. So here it is, bitchtrain.com, a meme in the making. Get off the bitch train and just pick one. It was so great. Like Stop your crying. Thank you to the sponsors. Thank you, WebSpy, DNA Mail, Ustream, Audible.com. Thank you, Alex and the boys outside working the TriCaster. You guys did a great job this week. We actually switched the camera angle at least 4 times.
There was a little moment, I will just say for the record, when I walked in and the camera got...
Oh, yeah, they bumped into the camera.
That was not me.
That's okay.
Me.
We'll fire somebody for that.
The klutzy heavyset.
Lon, your news was great. Thanks for wearing a blazer and shaving.
You're welcome.
And Matt, so great to have you on the program. Thank you for being honest. I know everybody really enjoyed it. The chat room was going crazy, and to have 400 people there at the peak and still 350 at the end, it means something. It means they really were entertained and 2 hours of show, which was great. We'll see everybody next week. Who's the guest next week? Do we have a guest? Ian Rogers from Topspin. Great guest. We'll be talking about the music industry next week with a guy who's very big in it. And we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups.